Bonjour et bienvenue dans le repère d'horreur. C'est un podcast où les cinéphiles regardent les milliers et les pires films d'horreur et on parle. Je m'appelle Andy Conjuit-Turner et avec moi, c'est trouvé mon collègue et ami, Monsieur.
Ben Errington.
That's right. No more French from me today. Um,
Oh my God. I love it.
Hello, everybody. What I said there, if you don't speak French or whatever language I just attempted there, was hello and welcome to the Horror Hangout horror podcast where film fans talk and watch the best and worst horror movies of all time, have a lovely chat about them. Andy Conduit Turner here, along with Mr. Ben Errington, and we're joined by a special guest this week. Someone we've met in real life at a place called Bone Daddies. I've met a couple of times. And a film fan since the age of 5. It is one Emily Stewart. Hello, Emily. How you doing?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Hello, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Hello and welcome.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for the suggestion as well. This was a fun one.
Let's just comment on the French first, right? Okay. I mean, I don't speak French, but it sounded great. It sounded perfect. It makes this podcast incredibly highbrow.
I practiced with what I could just do by myself this morning with Karen. She went, yeah, maybe look at do a proper translation because there's definitely some link words that you fucked there. But, you know, did all right.
How many people are going to listen to the first 10 seconds of this podcast and go,
I've downloaded it in French. My settings
I've downloaded it in French and turned this off straight away. Our listeners are going to be fuming. Actually,
they're classy. They like a bit of foreign language. Classy bunch, all of them.
Everyone's classy who listens to this show, definitely. And some people might be French who listen to it, so they might be like, hell yeah.
Really hit the French charts every so often. They'll be like, thank goodness, catering for us for a change.
Catering for us for a change for 10 seconds.
Derriere French listeners, don't worry.
Yeah. And I have to say, I think that the horror community, there's so many good foreign horror films that you probably come across different languages often, more so than other genres. So I don't think anyone would be too surprised.
Yeah. And you've helped me tick off something I really wanted to do this year, Emily. I was saying I wanted to do more foreign language films because actually French horror films in particular have been some of my favorites for the last couple of years. So more recommendations to come. But yeah, nice to get one on the regular episode feed.
Absolutely. Yeah, cool. Any favorite foreign language movies, horror movies that you would say are up there for you?
For me,
anybody.
It tends to be Japanese films, to be honest. Like, who wouldn't say that? I think if you look at the original, the real Japanese version of The Grudge, even that one is pretty cool. And then I think Korean films lately have come in. You know, there's been quite a few really interesting ones, even ones that aren't fully horror, that are just a bit of a thriller or just a little bit creepy, are quite good. But what I like about French films is they're completely unpredictable, in my opinion, humble opinion. You have no idea what's happening the whole time you're watching it. It seems like it's following one path, and then it's just complete mind twist at the end.
Absolutely. And the fact that you mentioned Korean movies, I know you mentioned a thriller. This film does kind of remind me of I Saw the Devil in many places. It kind of had that thriller sort of vibe, and there's even a couple of like locations that feel incredibly similar, interiors and exteriors. So yeah, great choice. I have seen this one before, but still it's good to get a rewatch in there. And actually, and as you mentioned, The Grudge, we did cover that late last year, didn't we, Andy?
We did, after you really began your new love affair with J-horror. Update for you, Emily, and anyone that's listening. I think Ben had a little bit of an epiphany. We saw at Fright Fest, we saw a documentary called The J-Horror Virus, which was about basically how J-horror became a huge thing and really started selling to Western audiences. And it sent you on a bit of a spiral, right, Ben? I think you've basically gone back and completed J-horror.
A spiral that's on. Spiral is one of them, and a spiral that's ongoing, because I actually did watch a J-horror movie this week as well, which I will get to. But yeah, it kind of made me want to revisit a lot of the films I liked, and then also the visit for the first time the films that I'd actually never seen before, and ones that were talked about with great fondness by the fans of that genre. So yeah, in terms of foreign language horror, we have done some on this podcast. I'd say we've done quite a lot. We've done a lot of giallo movies, a lot of Italian giallo movies. We've done things like Wreck. We've done A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. We've done The Skin I Live In. I'm running out of examples now, but lots. I'm pretty sure we've done lots, and a couple of J horrors as well. We've done Pan's Labyrinth. We've done Let the Right One In. Yeah, so I think perhaps it would be a good idea off the back of this, maybe we put together some sort of little playlist of the foreign language horror movies we've covered to
yeah, why not?
Why not? Why not? Everyone love that. And Andy will give an intro for each one in the language of what that film is. Correct?
Okay, join us next week where we'll do No One Sleeps in the Woods Tonight, where I'll do some terrible Polish. Polish is really hard.
You've got to speak a bit. You've got to speak Korean, though, right?
A little tiny bit, like not well.
There's got to be a good Icelandic film, because that would be a fun one to listen for you to try and do the intro in.
That's the new challenge now. Every time we do a foreign language movie. Unless the only time I will bulk that one is if we get a speaker of that language as our guest that week, in which case they are doing it. Rather than have to offend someone dead to their face.
Dead Snow, is that Icelandic or is that just set in Iceland? I'm just trying to look at a list.
I think it's Icelandic because they have a little dig at Nokia, don't they? There's one bit where their phone isn't working and he goes, "I'll finish, piece of shit," and like throws it.
Oh God.
I'm pretty sure it's Iceland. Yeah, I think so.
We'll have to find out. That's another.
Before we get onto the film of the week and the news, Emily, let's hear a little bit more about you. So, you say a horror fan since the age of 5. Where did it all begin? What's your background? How did you end up here, roundabouts?
Yeah, I think it was like just complete immersion. So I'm the youngest in my family by 14 years. I've got one sister who's 14 years older than me and one who's 12 years older than me. And they used to babysit me. And the eldest one, sort of finishing main school, preparing for university, was watching horror films one summer when she was the primary babysitter. And I watched Silence of the Lambs with her when I was very, very young. And
God.
It took me... I didn't fully understand it, as you would imagine, a 5-year-old. I didn't really, I just knew it was scary. And the scene in the house where all the lights are off, that was really scary. And it took me years. Then I watched it later. And I think it's a film now that I watch about every year, every couple of years. And then I immediately on the back of that stayed at one of our family's houses up north in Maine for a summer with my cousin. And her parents were going through some sort of, their own horror film fest. And they were watching every Leprechaun film and the different Child's Play films. And so all these like famous, like, oddly kind of childlike ideas turned horror. And so we watched all of those with them, and it just turned into this big thing. And we, my cousins and I, had a secret horror club where we did all sorts of things in the name of searching for Bloody Mary and whatever else we could do. So yeah, that's where it began.
That's outstanding.
It sounds like your child is like a series of like children's books, like your Emily's Secret Horror Club. Look at like imagine like the cover illustration now, looking for Bloody Mary.
It's really funny actually, because now that you say that, I never put it together. But R.L. Stine, the horror books from R.L. Stine. Did you get those?
Goosebumps.
Yeah, Goosebumps. Those, I loved those. And this is such a weird segue, but when I was about 7 or 8 years old, we lived in a house we referred to as the mansion. It was a temporary house. We were renting it for like 6 months, but it was this mansion that had been built in the 1940s and refurbished in the 1970s and not refurbished since. So it had shag carpet, but it like was a weird stately home in the States. And we're all convinced it was haunted. It was terrifying. And I, for some reason, had a bedroom at the end of a hallway where 3 of the 4 walls were just windows to the exterior, just solid glass windows.
Wow.
So from a very young, the thing that terrified me the most was the prospect of looking out the window and seeing someone looking back at you.
Yeah.
And it's in 3 directions as well. Basically lived in the house from 13 Ghosts, glass walls everywhere.
Just my room. All the other rooms are fine. And I used to get awful nightmares, and as you can imagine, being this young and watching things like Child's Play, and I would leave my room at the end of the hallway and walk to the complete other end of the hallway where my parents had their bedroom, and they had a bathroom that was, again, 70s style. It was blue shag carpeted bathroom with steps going up to a bathtub, and the bathtub faucet was a swan's head and it had crystals, and for some reason that room felt really safe to me, so I used to go in there when I'd had a nightmare and bring my pillow and my blanket and go sleep in their bathtub. So yeah, it was a very, very strange place to be.
What a phenomenal house. I feel like we'll talk today, and then tomorrow I'll hear from you. You'll send me, here's the house, and it'll be the Amityville house or something along those lines.
It was at like the top of a hill. It was completely isolated. Every pet we ever had died there. It was crazy.
Haunted by the spirits of all the animals. No spooky goings on there then that you ever witnessed? Nothing
I don't think really. Like, we had the normal spookies that turned out to be completely explainable things. We had bats in the chimney, and a bat came in the house one night and knocked things down, and nobody, we thought there was an intruder, and we had a basement that was really creepy. But my sister used to play a game that she called, so I feel like I'm absolutely insane talking about this, but she used to play this game, the Slithery D, which was I would be roller skating downstairs and she would turn all the lights off in the basement and run in and grab me. And yeah, just scared the absolute shit out of me.
The Slithery D. Oh no, it's a Slithery D. Oh God, not again.
A rhyme, or if it came from some scary children's books that we used to have, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, I think was the books. But there was it was like a rhyme that was, the Slithery D came out of the sea, he ate all the others, but he didn't get me. And so it came. But yeah,
the Slithery D.
We kind of had something similar in my household called, I think I've mentioned this before, Andy, the Abdabs. Now, I don't know what the Abdabs were. They were some sort of like unseen force where if all the lights are off in the house, like my mum or my sister or someone would say, hide, because the Abdabs are coming, and you kind of like hide under your bed or something, or hide in the blankets. And I don't know where these came from. I think I asked my mum fairly recently, what was it with the Abdabs? She was like, I don't know. And I was a bit terrified by that. I'm like, you don't know. Like, they somehow possessed her mind. Oh, the Abdabs. But I think it's like a word for just like anxiety or something, or I've got the Abdabs.
Yeah.
So just weird that has shaped my adult life as well. The anxiety, something is ever present in my life.
According to this, Ben, it is 1940s of unknown origin. The Abdabs. It is British informal nervous anxiety or irritation. I had to quickly Google it in case it was a slur, and I was like, sorry, Ben, you're going to have to.
The Abdabs are coming. Oh, not again. Oh. Now they visit me every single day, most days. But it was quite a cross-section of horror there, Emily, from Silence of the Lambs to all of the Leprechaun movies. I feel like that's a good cross-section.
What a film festival, all the Leprechaun movies. We've only done the first one on here, Ben. Maybe this year's the year we go to the Leprechaun 2.
Leprechaun in the Hood. That was called?
You've got to get to space before you get to the Hood, Ben.
Back to the Hood, it says.
Yeah.
Wait.
Well, he's got to go. He goes there once and he goes again.
Oh, so he goes to the Hood and then he goes back to the Hood.
Yeah, he goes back to that. I've not seen him return to the Hood.
And space in between that.
Yeah, space is number 4. I think it goes farm with Jennifer Aniston, then just a town, then Vegas, then space, then the Hood, then the Hood again, and then reboot with a different Leprechaun.
Oh. There was nowhere to go after the Hood.
Yeah, I think I've only seen
reboot
the first Hood. I think that's it.
I've only seen up to the first Hood as well. I've got a lovely.
Seen the original.
A lovely little box set here it's called The Leprechaun Pot of Gore. Got the first 5 movies there. Signed by Warwick Davis himself. We've got a lovely photo in there of the day I met him in Birmingham.
Oh my God.
What a lovely time.
Very cool.
This is fantastic. Well, I've never heard of this before. Have you got a photo?
Andy, I've got a background. I'll go and get it to show you later on.
Send me a goddamn photo of that so I can put it on the socials. I think you may have done that before.
Send you a picture of me and Warwick Davis, and much younger me.
Best buds.
Yeah, best birds, got my arm around him and everything. What a lovely time. Not a paid for autograph, just met him and had a lovely chat.
Oh, that's nice. And you happen to have your DVD box set with you?
I knew he was going to be there, and so I'm going to get him to sign this bad boy. Didn't meet him incidentally. He was at a convention thing, but none of this queuing up and paying your money business. I feel it's worth a little bit more.
I told you, the reason I say that is because a friend of mine did meet him incidentally, and he sent me a text saying, "You never guess who I've just met?" And I said, "Don't know." He went, "No, guess." I mean, I could have been guessing until the end of time.
I would have loved it if you got it on the first go.
Got on the first go. And I think I guessed like twice. I don't know what I said. Maybe like Bruce Forsyth or something before he died.
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren. And he went, no. And he sent me a picture and I went, oh, that's fantastic. Could never have guessed. And he's with an Ewok. Oh, no, that's you. Sorry, mate.
Got him.
Got him. Shall I do some horror news? We got
what's in the news, Ben? Yeah.
Couple of bits of horror news. Now, we mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a couple of months ago now, but I think there is finally some solid news that 28 years later, the zombie sequel is in the works with Danny Boyle and Alex Garland both attached. I think when we talked about it, we didn't know who was going to be involved.
They've just been talking about it, right?
Someone had just been talking about it, but apparently now, yes. Previously Danny Boyle had said, I'm very tempted to direct it, and I don't know who said what to who, but it feels like a good time now to actually work it out. And the script, again set in England, written by Alex Garland, is good apparently. So he's gone, I'm going to make this, don't know if any of the original cast, like Cillian Murphy, he's too busy being a
Cillian Murphy's a lot more expensive than he used to be.
Yeah, maybe he had like a returner. What clause, whatever that's called. What's that called? Come back for a sequel. Naomi Harris, Christopher Eccleston, they're all still knocking about. Eccleston's dead, don't he? Not in real life.
He got his eyes poked out in the film. Ben, what about my favorite character from 28 Weeks Later, Man?
If you remember, character Man got torn apart by some
helicopter blade,
blades, right? Which I think
tough for him to come back.
But stranger things have happened in comic books. We always find a way of bringing back famous, characters who have apparently died.
They'll do a recut scene where, like, as he's running away, he notices his laces are untied and he just bends down to tie him up. Everyone else gets mulched by the helicopter blades, and Man's fine.
Man's absolutely
I'm not
fine.
sure when the last time you watched 28 Weeks Later was, but we realize there is a character in it who is with them, the group, for about half of the movie, but never has a name.
No. So we've named him Man.
Okay, Man. Got it. Yeah, it's been a while, but I remember seeing that in cinemas.
Oh, you do? Which one?
Yeah.
Wait, the original one?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Follow up with Jeremy Renner.
I went to see the original one, but I remember I was definitely younger than 18 when it came out, so I can't remember what I did, whether I did a little...
You have to go in a big coat, talking about work at the cinema. As you go up to pay the counter.
This bloody tax bill, I can't believe it. I think I maybe bought a ticket for, like, I don't know, Shrek or something, and then just, like, hung about and to get into 28 Weeks Later.
Loads of people working minimum wage do not give a fuck if you've gone to another screen.
No one cares.
You say that, but I think back in the day, it felt like much more of a big thing, didn't it? It felt like you were properly breaking the law.
Oh, yeah. This badge is a badge of authority. You have to respect it.
Yeah.
I never know what applies here because it's a totally different set of rules. But for me, as an American, the rule was you had to be 15 to buy your own ticket, but you could be any age and your parent could buy a ticket for you. No, once you have the ticket, no questions asked.
Okay.
I see.
So if you get past the guy on the box office, then you're in.
Yeah, so you can bum, you can get somebody on the corner and say, like, go buy me a ticket and pay them $5. Yeah, get in to see whatever you want.
Yeah. I feel like UK cinemas used to be a lot more heavy-handed. I don't mean physically sling you out, but they'd be like, "Where's that food? Did you buy that food in here?" Absolutely not. Now I feel like you can just walk in with a weak shop.
Well, I feel like now as well. They just don't ask anymore because I don't think they could ever stop you bringing food in from elsewhere.
It was just frowned upon.
I don't think it's ever the law. I remember still to this day, like, they were more tight on it, like the 90s in the UK when we lived in Korea. We used to sometimes go to the cinema with our friends, and our Korean friends would get mostly me to carry in their coffees and stuff from outside into the cinema, knowing that the ushers would be more intimidated having to come and speak to me in a foreign language than they would just tell them, I'm not going to bother.
You are intimidated. So how many coffees were you carrying in? 8.
Or just like a couple, be like carrying a couple of coffees in. I mean, like, it's not that like they're not going to tell me off because I'm a big scary man. It's because they'd have to, you know, be like me. Like, I'm going to have to talk to you in another language, and I'm not that confident in it.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Just had this of with like a camel pack filled with coffee.
Yeah,
and a dispenser for everybody.
3 ice creams.
Yeah, just bringing your own little food truck. I reckon.
Pizza under my arm.
28 years later, I mean, how are they going to do this? Because obviously 28 weeks later kind of made sense, because even though most of the virus are kind of like the people who were infected had died off, how is it going to come back 28 years later? There could be some sort of like new experiment.
There'll just be a can of it just left about, like Dennis Nedry's shaving foam. They'll just find it in some mud.
A can of rage.
Yeah, either that or it'll just be, it's modern, isn't it? It's an AI now. They've done it. It's back,
AI.
It's back about.
Should we bet on it? Bet on what it's going to be.
Good idea. So Andy's going for a can of rage.
Now I'm going to go a COVID relation, and it'll be a conspiracy theory. It's been engineered by another government, and it just cracks out again.
That's good. I like that. Wait, you can't choose 2 things. That's
cheating. The first one was a joke, Ben. Come
on.
I'll
go for the joke then. You think it's a joke, do you? Well, I'm going to double down on it and say can of rage.
Can of rage. Emily, what's your bet?
I think I'm gonna do, it's kind of a modification of that, but you know, the like in the tundra where they put the seeds, they have like the special seed vault.
Yes.
It's gonna be like someone with access to a lot of money who wants to control the world purposefully saved a zombie or something.
Yeah.
So that they can wreak havoc later.
I like that. I like it.
Or Robert Carlyle is still about it. He's still stuck in the London Underground somewhere.
He's still knocking about somewhere.
Whatever
happened, sir?
What's that book? That really famous zombie book? Do you know what I'm talking about?
World War Z, like the one that's like the stories of like it's like letters and stuff from the zombie war.
Yeah, so and like the main theme is that somebody was selling like the cure or not the antidote, but the vaccine for the virus. It's going to be the person who's creating the vaccine.
Okay. So they're trying to basically get people to get it so they can sell the vaccine. Big Bond villain energy.
Yeah.
I'm actually reading James Herbert's The Fog at the moment, and there are a few like 28 days later sort of themes, mainly in like how people react to.
If I say it's not that fog, is it?
It's not that fog. No, it's a different. Fog.
It's not pirate ghost fog. It's fog that makes you absolutely Beswick.
It's yellow fog It's yellow fog from an earthquake that makes people go nuts. But seemingly, at least at this point in the plot, you can get better from it, and then become.
It just makes you nuts for a bit.
Apparently immune. When I say a bit, I mean like a long time, weeks. But yeah,
there's a couple of weeks, absolutely raging, then you calm down. You can only stay so angry for so long, right?
It's true. You only got so much energy. But yeah, because it's set in the UK, it's kind of it's got that sort of vibe. And people, when they get fogged, they kind of react similar to in 28 Days Later, where they just go a bit nuts and turn into an athlete.
Turn into an athlete, do loads of running, you'll thump anyone.
Thump anyone to death or thumb you in the eyes.
Yep.
Get your eyes thumbed out. Another piece of news I've got. Now, this could be good news or bad news, depending on how you look at it. The Exorcist Deceiver, the sequel to The Exorcist Believer, has apparently been removed from the release calendar currently, and David Gordon Green, the director, has exited the film as well, off the back of obviously The Exorcist Believer not doing great in terms of critically. I don't know how well it did at the box office, actually. I don't actually know.
I bet it made money. I bet it turned a profit.
I'm sure it made some money, yeah. But who's to know what's happened? David Gordon Green's finally had a gutful. He's gone, I keep making wonderful sequels to Halloween, reboots or legacy sequels to Halloween and The Exorcist, and nobody appreciates them. So I've had enough. I'm off. Is that what's happened?
Did you see The Exorcist Believer, Emily?
I didn't, no.
I mean, I would say you're probably all right. Ben, what are you taking it as, good or bad news?
I mean, I don't know really. I don't know how I look at that news. I would say my interest in a film called The Exorcist Deceiver, a sequel to The Exorcist Believer, was pretty low and would remain low until that film came out. However, if there's a different director attached, maybe my interest will peak a tiny bit more. I don't know. It depends.
I'm going to argue, Ben, that I don't think the direction was the problem. By the way, 30 million budget, 136 million box office. Not huge, but more than 4 times its money. It's fine. More money than you'll ever see. I didn't get on with The Exorcist Believer very much. Not so much because of the direction. I just feel that, I'm going to sound real wanky now, there's no heart to it, right? There's no reason for it to exist other than to make money. In the same way that the following 2 Halloween sequels followed a perfectly brilliant ending to the Michael Myers, Laurie Strode saga. They made another 2 films because the other one went well and they wanted to make a trilogy. And the same, these Exorcist movies were immediately planned as a trilogy, which for me ultimately meant that the first one didn't pay anything off. It didn't do anything. It was all set up. It was no delivery. There were 2 sequels to The Exorcist, but the film wasn't made with that in mind. I think if you want to tell a story that you want people to engage with and to care about, you should try and make a good standalone movie. And if you get a couple of sequels off the back of that, leave enough in there that you could carry on, but don't make the entire story hinge upon this is going to take 3 movies to pay off.
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, this is news. Whether it's good news or bad news, who knows?
Do you think it'll disappear, or do you think it will get a new director? And is there a director they could attach to it that would make you think, yeah, I'm back in?
I don't know. How about Alexandre Aja? Why not? The director of High Tension.
This fella.
Obviously, he's done Hills Have Eyes. He's done Cruel, Oxygen, all like pretty good, really good like genre films. So a little take on The Exorcist might be good. Hills Have Eyes remake's good.
So a lot of people conjuring the Flan Man, old Mike Flanagan.
Okay.
Successful adapter of things.
Yeah, and he's someone who could probably add a lot of heart to it. Sometimes too much, though. God, Mr. Flanagan, turn down the heart a little bit.
Stop toying with my emotions so much. Stop hiding ghosts everywhere, Mike.
Yeah, hiding ghosts everywhere. Everyone's doing a massive monologue. God.
The thing is, as well, is that exorcism movies, I don't think you need a licensed like IP. It's not like this is Captain America. It has to be this. Like, it's The Exorcist. You could have a demon, which I'm pretty sure all demons, dead old, public domain, every single one of them. Mm-hmm. You can use God, you can use a Jesus, you can use the devil, all of his mates, much as you want. All of them absolutely copyright free. Do you have to have one that's based particularly on The Exorcist, or can you just tell a good, completely separate story?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Let's see what happens. We'll keep everybody updated, of course. Not just us. Other news outlets will keep you updated as well. But, we'll be there to amplify those voices, of course. And the last piece of horror news is based on a film which is in a little bit of bother, Scream 7. Apparently, Neve Campbell would potentially return under the right circumstances. And by right circumstances, I'm thinking how many zeros are on the end of her check. But she said, I love this franchise. I would hope it doesn't fall apart. Would she return given the right circumstances? Yes. I just really felt the need to stand up and say that I don't believe I would have been treated the way I had been if she had been a man carrying the franchise for 25 years. And that still stands. She's going to need a lot of money. She's going to need apologies, groveling. And then even then, like the way this film has treated a lot of people involved with it, it's like, wow. Obviously, Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega no longer returning to Woodsboro. It's like essentially like it's gonna have to be a completely different story with different characters, isn't it?
Yeah,
because who's left alive? I guess. Because who's left alive?
Well, there's the other 2 from the core 4 in the last bit.
Yeah.
Kirby's still knocking about, isn't she?
Yeah. Neve Campbell, and I guess Gail Weathers is still.
Yeah, because she's fine. She was poorly in the last one, but she gets better.
That's good.
So they're all about.
Emily, did you see Scream 5 and Scream 6? Either or?
No, I didn't. And despite the fact that we're talking about high tension today, slasher, gory films tend to be low on my list of desired horror films. I'm more about the paranormal or jump scares or just creepy stuff. So those are the things that I tend to prioritize.
Okay. Because you were saying earlier, just before we started recording, that in your house, your partner doesn't watch horror films with you, so you have to do these solo, right?
I do them solo. He doesn't.
Emily's secret horror club carries on into adulthood.
It's so funny. He told me once that he watched What Lies Beneath, and it really upset him, and he's just never watched a horror film since. And even 2 or 3 years ago on Halloween, it's a tradition for myself and myself alone, because he doesn't watch films with me, that I watch a horror film on Halloween always. And I almost got him to do it, and then at the last minute he was like, I'm gonna go do some, he's a teacher, so he said, I'm gonna go do some marking, and he went off and did marking while I sat in the room and watched the remake of it. But so I watch them alone. And in fact, because busy life, we work and we have children, I watch them by myself at night, and often when he's out of town, and that's pretty much it. So
you've not been tempted, like, given your own childhood, I suppose you've opted for responsible parenting, not just picking the youngest and gone, come with me, you are the chosen one.
The youngest, I think, interestingly, I think that's the one that would be the most down. She's only 2.5, but she's the boldest. The eldest, who's nearly 7, she's very sensitive. She's afraid of everything. So I wouldn't ever do it. But in fact, in this, I wanted to tell you this. To get my 2.5-year-old to sleep, I have to say the complete opposite that you should ever say to a normal child is, it's time to go to bed and close your eyes so the bedtime monster doesn't come to eat you. And she'll say, okay, mommy, can you look after my baby? And she gives me her baby doll, and then she goes to bed. But because otherwise she'll just sit up all night talking to me, and she's doesn't know really what a monster is, but she'll go to sleep if I tell her the bedtime monster is coming. So that's what we do every night.
Oh yeah. Oh, the bedtime monsters go off to sleep. I go then. Lovely.
I'll watch my baby for you. See you in the morning.
Watch my baby.
Yeah.
2.5. Totally fine for Silence of the Lambs.
So another 2.5 years, she'll be ready for Silence of the Lambs.
She'll be ready. I'm going to get my hands on those scary stories for my kids. I think my sister still has the full collection.
Nice.
And she most recently, and this was still years ago, but most recently terrified my nieces with them so they wouldn't sleep for months, I think. And my middle sister was very upset about this. Those are excellent books for any child that's venturing into the horror space.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I don't think it probably is available because globalization, but I don't think we got, certainly when I was growing up, I don't remember that we had Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I'm aware of it now because they did a film a few years ago, but
I'm terrified to watch it because of
we were Goosebumps or bust around when I was at school.
Well, there were two books or 2 stories in the book. One was, it builds up, the book is outlined so that it's sort of less scary and it gets progressively scarier. So if you're bold and you're ready to keep going, you can keep going. But in one of the earliest chapters, there was something about a new mother with glass eyes and a wooden tail. And the image that my child brain conjured for this was horrifying. And I think the story itself is called Drums, I'm pretty sure. And nothing in the, it's creepy. Nothing is that scary except that one day the child comes home and he has a new mother with glass eyes and a wooden tail. But it's just how your imagination works. And that terrified me. But then there's this one called Harold, which is about a scarecrow.
Harold's the scarecrow. He's in the film.
And I just can't with that one. I can't. That's the reason that I can't watch the film, because I had plenty of nightmare about Harold in my childhood that I'm not ready to breach that again.
Oh no.
See what, the film, as far as I remember now, it's not bad.
Yeah, film's right, Film's
it's not
right.
bad.
Quite liked it as well. Okay, I mean that's all I've got for horror news. I guess we should move on to what we've been watching. So this part of the show, Emily, we just kind of talk about anything we've been watching in the last 7 days, horror or horror adjacent. Because you're not on the show every week, it can be something you've seen as recently as a few weeks ago, or anything you want to mention, really. Anything you've seen recently?
Sorry, yeah, I think I a lot, because whenever I come out of Christmas, the first thing I do is just load up on anything horror adjacent. So I've just gone through a few different TV series, mostly bordering on the creepy. So I watched The Watcher, which I'd never seen before.
Oh, how is that?
It's good. It's it's a little bit unsettling, but there's a few jump scares. So it and it's really, the whole time you're trying to work out who the Watcher is, and so it's good. I've been watching Cabinet of Curiosities. I'm halfway through an episode. I had to stop it. I watched brand new cherry flavor just before Christmas. I think I messaged you about that.
I need to watch that still. Apparently it's really good.
And for the last few days, I've been watching Red Rose.
Oh, the Stephen King, the 90s one, or is there a more recent one?
No, the TV series. Yeah, it's kind of like Black Mirror. It's a little bit teenagey, but it's I'm finding that style of horror, where technology is capable of doing really awful things in the world. I'm finding that really interesting at the moment. So I'm actually really enjoying Red Rose. I think, again, I'm sort of halfway through an episode. I had to pause it and do something, and so I'm looking forward to finishing that one.
Nice.
Did you pause both of those things because life? You didn't pause them because they were too scary?
Yeah, no, life happens. I think for Cabinet of Curiosity, somebody upstairs, one of the children woke up, and so then the night's over. And for Red Rose, it was time to do a school pickup, so I left.
Yeah. Which Cabinet of Curiosities are you halfway through?
It's the artist one. So he, I don't know the character names, but it's sort of set in like I think like 1910s. And he's an artist at school, and he meets like another really troubled artist who does some really horrific sort of, there's a really, really famous painter that did these really disgusting paintings, but he does stuff like this, and then it really disturbs this guy, and sort of he starts hearing things, and that's the one that I'm in the middle of.
I really liked Cabinet of Curiosities. We'll catch up when you finish them all, because I don't know which order they come in, but there's some really good ones.
Oh, does it change every time you watch it? Is it one of those?
Yeah, it's an anthology series, so there's totally different stories. They're completely unconnected. Is it Inside or Outside? It's the one with the beauty cream that's really good. I really liked I think it's the first one. It's like Lot something, where there's like it's like when people do the storage hunting, and there's a storage unit that someone buys. That one was really fun.
That calls back and thing you were talking about earlier. It's all open. yeah.
There's some good ones. There is one where some people go to look at like an artifact at this art collector's house as well. That one's really good. It's called The Viewing. That one's excellent.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good series. It's really good. I hope he gets another one of those, because I think they're really well produced, sort of short standalone horror stories.
Cool. It's the same director that did Pan's Labyrinth, isn't it?
Like Guillermo del Toro, I think he curated them, but each of the episodes is also different director, different writers. Although some of them, like the one with the rats, is a remake of, I don't know where the original story's from off the top of mind, but it was a section on one of the Trilogy of Terrors is the rat story as well. So it's a remake from another anthology.
Cool.
That makes sense, because they all have very different vibes. The rat one felt like Edgar Allan Poe. It was a very, awful, buried alive kind of thing. And I'm with you.
Yeah, it was a good one. Right, as Ben has gone to, I imagine, answer the door, I will dive into what I've been watching, and I have had an absolute bonanza of things to get through. Anyone would think that it's dead cold outside at the moment by the amount of films I've got through in the last week, but guess what it is? So I've got through a fair amount of things since last time. I'm going to rattle through some of these for you. Do stop me if you've seen any and want to talk about them. But the first thing I watched, first couple actually, I polished off a couple of 2023 releases. So first up, I watched Creepypasta, which is a 2023 anthology. Loads of really short things. It feels fairly low budget, and it really leans into the creepypasta vibes of literally like really short. There is a singular twist, like Internet Stories is one with like the shadow people that people see out of the corner of their eyes. You know, it's
Slender Man.
Yeah, it's like really short form. Like there's about 10, 12 stories, each of them about 5 minutes long. It's fun. Like I wouldn't say it was like my favorite anthology. It hasn't jumped to the top of the list or anything like that, but perfectly acceptable, a good story. I also watched 2023's Dark Harvest. Either of you seen this or heard of it?
I've seen that.
Sort of 1960s Americana, like basically every year, horrible scarecrow goes into a small town and the kids of the town, whipped into a frenzy, beat the scarecrow to death before it reaches the church to ensure their crops for the next year.
Because if you beat the scarecrow to death, you win a car. Is that right?
You win a car. And then you go away mysteriously out of town. Nothing bad definitely happens to you.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Oh, great. It sounds like a callback to Harold again. So I'm not.
Yeah, very Haroldy. Is a spooky scarecrow. You wouldn't be a fan of Elite.
I don't know if I can do that one. Yeah.
God's sake, Harold.
Then I went back in time and watched 1972's Beware of the Blob, the lower budget sequel to the original Blob, which was remade into one of the best horror remakes of all time, the 1980s Blob. You know what? When I first started watching Beware the Blob, I was like, oh, this is super naff. You know, it's like a man who is on a fishing trip, camping in his front garden, camping in his living room, getting got by the blob, and a man getting run off the road and then waving his fist at some teenagers because they made him drop his cans of pop. It feels kind of low rent and cheesy to begin with, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to enjoy this. But it really picks up. Back half of Beware of the Blob is really good. It's really tense. I really like the characters. People actually just are really quite sensible in it. I quite liked Beware the Blob, and it's quite funny, deliberately so. It's not horrific like the 1980s remake of The Blob is, which is probably one of the more extreme horror movies. Like the kids are getting slept off, everyone's been getting got by the blob. But Beware the Blob,
think I even knew there was a
underrated. It's all right, you know. It's all right. I'll rattle forward though. I then went and did a lovely time. Ben, you remember a little while back now, probably it's going to be longer than you think, probably more than a year, when we did Return of the Living Dead, one of my favorite zombie horror comedies.
Yes, indeed.
I did some more of that series. Ben, I did Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Overtly funny, like really leans into the comedy, but the effects are really good. People are still getting absolutely mauled by zombies and killed, but they've really leaned into the comedic creature effects, and they don't lean back on the gore either. So, you know, when the zombies are first coming out of the ground, and they've used a lot of the actors playing completely different characters, although with a knowing wink. One of the main characters is sitting in the car at one point and he's crying because it feels like we've been here before and it's really horrible. It's been like a terrible recurring nightmare. So it's really knowing as to what it is. But then they lean into the gore. There's like a bit, zombies are coming out of the ground and the character just like punches a zombie in the face and completely caves it in all practical effects. And the zombies have like a little bit of personality. There's one bit where the characters, our heroes, are all riding in an ambulance and they get a radio message. Someone goes like, come back to the hospital. And it's like, okay, come on, we'll head back to the hospital. It's safe. And the doctor's like, hang on a minute. Who's the president of the United States? And they're like, Ronald Reagan. And it's like, definitely a zombie. And there's a kid, isn't it, as one of the main characters. It's not leaning as far into horror as the original actually does, but it has all the same great energy of the loud screaming. It's really over the top. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it still. And then you'd think these things would take a downward spiral after that, but I watched Return of the Living Dead 3, a video cover that I'd never seen Return of the Living Dead 3 before. I remember being massively intrigued by the cover. intrigued / terrified by the cover, growing up looking at it. Return of the Living Dead 3 has no business being this good. It's really good. It's brilliant. Don't watch it, Ben. I will give you warning though. I worry that you may fall in love with one of the main characters. Not saying it, Ben.
Hey.
I feel I know you, and I feel she might be massively your type.
Okay. Undead. Is that what you mean?
No, not about her being that her getting turned into a zombie is incidental, but
yeah. Okay.
I would say
you
do
realize I'm going to go and watch it immediately now. That's what I'm going to do.
I think you will, Ben. I think you should though, because honestly, I don't think there's any zombie movies with this level of focus on character. Sometimes we with someone, they get a bit poorly. Are they going to tell someone I'm turned into a zombie or not? Yeah, and it, premises, there's some cheesy stuff they sneak into it, like the son, his dad works at a lab, the military, where they're like working with zombies, and he's able to nick his card. And his dad doesn't want him to hang out with this troublemaking girl. And then when she gets killed in an accident, he goes, bring her back to life with that experiment I just saw. And it all just goes on from there. But it's brilliant. It's so good. It's over the top. It's Return of the Living Dead. It's cheesy, but it's really good character. I now feel, originally I watched the second one, I thought, even though this is really good, I don't think we need to rush and do an episode on this. But now I want to do this entire series because I loved it. Unfortunately, it falls off a cliff after that, because Return of the Living Dead Rave to the Grave is exactly what you might think about a film called Return of the Living Dead: Rave to the Grave that came out in 2005. It's very sort of American Pie / but not that level of comedy, basically.
I think Return of the Living Dead is underappreciated, I think, as a franchise. I think it's great.
Number 3, such a great one. And then I'll finish off last couple. Elvira, Mystery of the Dark, you've done an episode on that, but I wasn't here for that week, so I finally caught up and watched it.
Nice.
Elvira / Cassandra Peterson is a comedy genius. She's so funny.
She's
so funny. But I think culturally, Emily, maybe you'll appreciate it less being from the US, but we love a pun over here. And you've lived here long enough now. It's part of your culture now. Elvira is the absolute pun queen. And she's so funny. And her timing is bang on.
Yeah.
Such a funny performance.
The best joke is probably, doesn't she have a knock to the head at one point and someone says, Elvira, how's your head? And she says, well, I've never had any complaints. She is so good. And for and it's properly delivered in a PG made for TV way. Yeah.
She's so funny.
Yeah.
She's brilliant.
And I love any film where it's like weirdo from out of town goes into like a small town environment and fucks things up for everybody.
Yeah. I don't like her because she's a prude, and then she accidentally doses them and they all have an orgy and then are very embarrassed. What a time.
Not again.
Typical Friday night.
Yeah, typical Friday night. Last two, I watched Candy Stripers, which is a 2006, I'd imagine, made-for-TV movie where people in hospital get horrible alien worms kissed into them by other nurses, and then they get all the sugar.
Candy Stripers.
Candy Stripers. Is it like it's to do with nurse uniforms back when?
For some reason, I thought you just mispronounced strippers.
No. I mean, you can criticize me for a terrible taste in films, Ben, but not for spelling.
It's very
exactly. I would have. It's what? Sorry?
Yes, it's a very American term. It's a person who is not medically trained that volunteers at a hospital.
I see.
And out among the professionals with their special uniforms.
And their special uniforms also leans in, but these aliens bloody love sugar. So when people have been got by the aliens, they can't get enough of the sweeties, and that's how you have to watch out for them.
How and why did you watch this? What was your thought process?
I don't know how it came up, but it was on an old watch list from ages ago. You know what?
Okay.
I've got this. I can see this is here. I'm gonna finally tick this one off the list. And did I need to tick it off the list? Well, the list is one film shorter now, so in that sense, yes. It's very silly, but then does get very gory in other parts as well. So it feels that sometimes it's really dialed back and some of the terrible violence is happening off screen, and then a man will just get his heart ripped out in an elevator. And sometimes the possessed candy stripers do seem like they definitely want to dominate the entire world. But then other times they will get one person in the group, say a pun, and walk away. So it's all just there. But then the final one ended on I don't want to say it's a high because it's a real mean movie. But either of you seen 1997's German horror film Funny Games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the American remake, yeah.
Yeah.
I've not seen the American remake, but what a bleak, fucked up movie, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really good. Like, really, really good. And it sort of looks as you, an audience member, saying, you enjoyed this movie? Because if you did, you're a real piece of shit. But it's
the
good,
remake's like almost shot for shot, isn't it? It's like incredible.
I've not seen the remake.
Yeah. And I think you could hear from the way that we both responded to have you seen it, and we both sort of said, yeah, that's exactly the feeling we got.
We've been there.
Yeah, enjoyed isn't the word.
Don't remind me of it.
Yeah, a movie that's good, yes.
Yeah.
Like fabulously made. If its intention is clearly to be incredibly disturbing, and it is that, but enjoyed is a very strong term for it, because it is. I've not seen anything quite so bleak in a very long time.
Yeah.
For anyone listening along, so it's just about a family that go on holiday, and then some disturbingly polite young men come round initially to borrow eggs, but then things just escalate into a series of terribly violent games where they're basically betting on this family's ability to survive. And they're awful, which is why if anyone ever knocks on your door and asks for anything even remotely strange, my advice to all of you listening at home is to just escalate immediately until they definitely have gone. Like, don't be even the slightest bit polite. If a lad comes in to borrow some eggs and he drops one of them, bash him. Just be done with it before he gets a chance.
Interesting advice from Andy.
Yeah.
Is that you got? That is a bonanza, Andy. I always feel
I was saying when you're away from the
table.
Same when you just get in the door, Ben. Anyone I think is dead cold outside up here in Scotland right now, and the best thing to do is stay in.
Yeah, not much to do. I've only got a couple of things. One thing I wanted to do first was, I posted on the socials this week. I went to Retro Bristol, in Bristol, and I picked up some horror VHS. I've decided to start the horror VHS collection again. Andy, you've been very kind as to offer me a VHS player and even some videos that you've got, which is incredibly generous of you, and I'm very appreciative of that. I did pick up copies of From Dusk Till Dawn, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Bram Stoker's Dracula, and something else. Razorblade Smile, Jake West's Razorblade Smile, guest of the show recently, obviously came on the show to talk Phantasm 2. Managed to find his movie on VHS in this shop, which was kind of nuts. I've already sent him a DM to show him that I found it and that I bought it, and he just said bargain, which is nice.
Get him to sign that next time you see him.
Yeah, and Event Horizon as well. But yeah, the one thing I did pick up was, now obviously on the video you're going to see this, but on the audio I'm going to describe it. I've got a pack of X-Files Topps trading cards from 1996. So how many years old is that, Mr. Maths? 24. 28 years old. That's right. Okay. 28 years old, which is kind of insane. Never opened, obviously not. I'm going to open them right now, and I'm going to. This could be great. This could be great content, or incredibly boring.
Do you reckon it's going to be one of those? What's the book going to be? If it was a sticker book, you might go, oh look, Mulder's Legs. It's a two-parter.
Oh, that'd be great. I'm hoping for a Smoking Man, shiny card.
A Smoking Man shiny.
Do like an ASMR thing.
I hope you get like the Truth Is Out There poster from his wall.
The Truth Is Out There poster. That would be great. But I don't know what I'm going to do with these other than put them in a drawer. But
in a trifle.
What have we got? Oh, there is so I can't really see what that is. It's like a close up of. Oh, it's like a little burnt alien corpse.
Okay.
Does it say what it is on the back? Grotesque humunculus.
A grotesque humunculus.
A grotesque humunculus. I've been called that before, once or twice in my life. Next up, we've got a parasitic worm. That's the thing from the episode in the Arctic. Do you remember there's like an episode?
Oh, the Tunguska beasties.
It's a bit like The Thing, this episode, where Mulder and Scully end up in some sort of Arctic lab. If you remember that one. That's pretty good. Oh, we've got a little...
Imagine if he gets the tombs, the best one.
And it's a close-up of the Manitou, a vicious wolf-like humanoid from Native American folklore. I think I remember that episode as well. Scary-looking eye, close-up. Pretty cool. And what else? Oh my god, here we go.
Oh, is this a shiny?
It's tombs.
It is tombs.
It's tombs, but it's not just any tombs. It's tombs squeezing his way into a chimney shaft. Tombs doing the old Santa Claus, getting himself head first down a chimney. I don't think that's from the first episode of Tombs, is it? And even on the back, it's got like
Tombs Revenge.
It's got like a little storyboard sketch on the back. You can't really see it very well. I should probably put some photos of these on the socials.
Do some scans.
There is a drawing of the Jersey Devil that somebody's done. An artist's conception of the female Sasquatch, Bigfoot. One drawing looks pretty good, pretty detailed. One's kind of not very good. But if you can see, you probably can't see there. But it's
a good and a bad one, just so they can help you.
It's a Sasquatch with boobies, you can see. Sasquatch with breasts and very, very hairy knees. Hairy all over, but extra special hairy knees. And finally, serial killer John Barnett. Oh yeah, it's that weird little hand, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of like salamander hand. Very disrespectful to anyone with any sort of skin ailment, but yeah, salamander hand card. I mean, I don't know about you, but these are all the ones I wanted.
I mean, you've got the Christmas Tombs one. That's ever so good. How many did you get in the packet? In your six
so
cards.
They're all like close-ups. There's no like actual like character cards or anything. Maybe that exists elsewhere. But I've got homunculus close-up. I've got
hideous homunculus,
a withered salamander hand, and a Christmas Eugene Tombs. I feel like that's just a great selection.
And an artist impression of female Sasquatch.
I don't know about you, but even though they were out of print in 1996, I want to collect them all. I want to get back and find some more.
I feel now you found the most challenging way to collect cards ever. Cards that have no longer been in print for 20 plus years.
Cards from the past. Let's do it. That was that. The only things I had to mention were a couple of movies that I've seen this week. One of which is the movie Cure, another J-horror film. This is from director Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who directed Pulse, which is a film I watched again like fairly recently. I've seen that a couple of times now. This is very interesting. This is like a sort of like police procedural. There's a wave of murders sweeping Tokyo, and each murder seems to be committed by someone who has like no memory of like committing the murder or why they did it, and then we soon find out that they've all met the same man mere minutes or mere hours before they commit their murders. How could this man be connected? How could this man be connected? Yeah, I mean, in terms of it was quite long, and I feel like the third act maybe went on a little bit, but I think up to that point there were lots of really interesting mystery, and it's been kind of compared to Seven in terms of like the cinematography and the moodiness of it, and the fact that we got a police detective in a long trench coat with his difficult family life. So those kind of comparisons are there. Yeah, really, really quite interesting. I definitely recommend it.
Do the guys talk about this in the J-horror virus? I feel like I've heard someone talk about it, but I've definitely not seen it.
Kurosawa was talked about a bit, and I think it's mainly because of Pulse, because that was more of a sort of culturally impactful film, and obviously got an American remake as well. 2001 Pulse was, so this was 4 years before.
Okay.
But yeah, I highly recommend that. And the other film I saw this week, I went to cinema to watch Poor Things. Now, I could talk about it on this podcast because it is kind of horror adjacent, because there are some similarities to Frankenstein, and I've even seen a lot of people on social saying Poor Things is just a remake of Frankenhooker we won't hear anything different. And there are lots of similarities between that and Frankenhooker, not just some of the
Even
faces.
more excited to see it now. Yeah. Have you seen Frankenhooker, Emily?
No, but I'm pretty sure that when we met at Bone Daddy's, you were both talking about Frankenhooker.
So good.
You guys can't shut up about Frankenhooker, for God's sake.
I think it comes up now every time you get together from my limited experience of being in the same space as both of you.
Oh, and hello, Emily. It's very nice to meet you. Now, have you seen Frankenhooker or not? Just immediately ask the question. But this
That's
film...
what you're getting in your gift basket to congratulate you on your new job. A copy of Frankenhooker.
Oh,
looking for
that would be fantastic. I'd absolutely love to get that. We need to cover that on the show, don't we, Andy?
Yeah, absolutely. This year or bust.
This year or bust. I'm sure we got a whole year to do it. This film is like, I mean, I don't say this very often, but it is like a masterpiece. There's so much going on in this film that's great. Performances, cinematography, like the sets, the costumes, the music. It's just seriously odd. Just like absolutely great. And Yorgos Lanthimos, the director, the Greek director, I've seen a few of his films before. I've seen The Lobster, I've seen The Favourite, and they've all got like this sort of like oddball, bizarre sort of like nature to them. This one goes like all in on it. It's based on a book called Poor Things, which I'd heard of before, but didn't really know that much about. I won't kind of spoil anything, but Emma Stone is a character called Bella Baxter who, let's just say, gets reanimated in some way and kind of learns a lot about life from that. Yeah, it was absolutely mad. Really, really funny. Incredibly sexy. Like the most, I did not go in thinking there were going to be this many sex scenes or like full frontal nudity. From watching the trailer, I was a bit like, that looks incredibly quirky. Didn't set me up for that. I can only say I'm glad I didn't go and watch it with my mum, for example.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Your mum's still going on about seeing Willem Dafoe's hog from that time she watched Antichrist.
Willem Dafoe's hog. I can guarantee you my mum would, she'd watch 10 minutes of Antichrist and turn it off. So yeah, Mark Ruffalo, Willem Dafoe, Christopher Abbott's in there from Possessor, and I think he's just been cast as the Wolfman as well. It's really, really hard to describe without spoiling too much, but it is just an experience. It kind of feels a bit like, it's quite Lynchian in places. And also, what director am I thinking of? There's a few like directorial styles that it kind of reminded me of, but it never quite sticks to one thing. It's just constantly going through the motions. But yeah, visually it's amazing. I loved everything about all of the set design, all of like the typography they used on like different like chapters of the movie and stuff. Mad. And Emma Stone is like insanely good. And I love Emma Stone anyway, but this is like properly a huge performance from her. So I've already heard people say it's going to win a bloody Oscar. And it probably should, you know. Not that I've seen all the films this year, but I think it's great. And Mark Ruffalo's good in it as well, sort of like a bit of a knobhead. Yeah, recommend it if you
usually
want to see
nice.
A modern bizarre, even though Frankenhooker's bizarre. If you want to see a remake of Frankenhooker without it being Frankenhooker, then get yourself to Poor Things immediately. Obviously, we've only just got it in the UK. I think it's been out in the US for a little while now.
End of last year, I think, right?
End of last year, yeah. So it's one that was on my list that I was like, I can't wait to see that as soon as it comes out. A packed out screening in Bristol. I saw some familiar faces there as well from like Bristol Bad Film Club and Forbidden Worlds Film Festival as well. So it looked like everybody descended upon Showcase Avon Meads in Bristol to check it out at that same screen. I think it was sold out as well. So
that's nice to see.
Highly recommended.
Sold out after last week's experience when I almost felt bad for the fact I was in such a large cinema screen on my own. I think that was the time I went as well, though. Not for Poor Things. That was when I went to see Night Swim.
Well, it is great to see that because, as I may have mentioned before, like a couple of cinemas in Bristol have like closed recently. Two that I would go to fairly regularly. I kind of like mix it up a bit, but still, it's a bit frustrating when you see like, oh, what's gonna happen now? But it seems like, I don't know. people are still willing to make the trip to other cinemas as well. So that's
good.
That is good. Yeah, that's it for me.
Anyone seen anything else? We've seen everything between the three of us, I think, by the sound of that.
We've seen bloody well. You've seen everything. You've seen every film ever known to man.
It's cold
and woman. It's cold, all right. It's cold. That's fine then. I agree. I also watched The Return of Gladiators, not horror adjacent.
So did I.
But
well,
so
they're
good.
They're big, scary fellas, though, aren't they?
Big scary fella. And
that
ladies.
Viper, he's ever so mean.
Viper's incredibly mean, yeah. But that's neither here nor there.
I know there was Emily, you're somewhat younger than us, but like, you know, the we had American Gladiators and we got sick of our own. Was Gladiators such a big cultural thing in the US as it was for us over here? It was like everything for us growing up.
Not that I know of. It could have been in a different part of the States than where I was at the time. But yeah, no, I don't think so.
Oh, it was enormous growing up here. I would say, especially amongst children of school age, I think the Gladiators were the most famous people in the country.
Most definitely.
It was maybe whoever your biggest footballer was, on par with Gladiators, and then Queen, Prime Minister, things like that below.
Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah, Queen, Prime Minister, right down below. Not interested.
Yeah.
Get all the Gladiators on the list.
Don't even recognise them. If the Queen was at one side of the road and Jet and Wolf from Gladiators, although Wolf was a bit scary, would you not dare cross the road to say hello to him?
No, I don't think you would. Terrified. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. I just suddenly remembered Gladiators as well.
Oh, but I think, to be honest, it's a cultural exchange, isn't it? You've got to share that Gladiators is back on, and it is a glorious thing.
Yeah, we got to talk about Gladiators if we're also talking about French cinema, which is, of course, the film of the week. Film of the week, which is High Tension, and in French that is, Andy,
Haute Tension.
Haute Tension, yeah.
Haute Tension.
Too crazy. Released in the United Kingdom as Switchblade Romance, is a 2003 French slasher film directed by Alexandre Aja. And the story is best friends Marie and Alexia decide to spend a quiet weekend at Alexia's parents' secluded farmhouse. On the night of their arrival, the girls' idyllic getaway turns into an endless night of horror. Endless. Okay, in terms of ratings, we have got 6.7 out of 10 on IMDb, 41% Rotten Tomatoes audience score, 67% critics score, 3.2 on Letterboxd, that's out of 5. Kodiak, I've got some choice reviews for you here. Kodiak says, the tension was definitely high, 3.5 stars. I agree with that. Cairo Press says, I'm never trusting anyone who masturbates to reggae. I kind of thought that as well, you know. I don't know if anything's ever got me in the mood enough musically to make me go, you know what? In someone else's house where I'm a guest, I am going to.
Especially risky, having big headphones on as well. You ain't gonna hear someone opening the door in someone else's house as well, especially because she has big headphones on. You're not gonna hear if Alex's mom tries the door to see if you've put a towel in for you. Is that all right? Got those big old headphones on, mazzing off to your reggae. What are you thinking?
But also, like, when sometimes you've got headphones on and you're listening to music, I think, or someone else is, that you can kind of hear them breathing a bit heavier, or like they might be kind of like whisper singing. You're not aware of your volume. So I feel like if you got headphones on and then you're also indulging yourself in that way, I don't think you'd be aware of like any noise you were making. There's a little boy in a bloody bedroom across the way. How dare you?
He's took it out though.
Is he? He's running around.
He didn't even make it upstairs. He was ever so tired, waiting up. Yeah. See him. Be all right.
Okay, a few other reviews. Stephen Gillespie says, a promising exploitation movie with a fun, grimy aesthetic loses direction and then destroys itself with a twist. 2 stars. And Survived says, such a well-crafted cat and mouse horror thriller that really knows how to live up to its title. 4 stars, so an interesting like cross section there of everything. Andy, I know this is the first time you'd seen it, but Emily, what is your relationship with this film?
So I saw this in cinemas. And I'm pretty sure that I was on a date, which is the perfect film to go see on a first date with somebody.
Nice.
But I don't think I ever saw the person again. So I do not remember who it was that I saw this in cinemas with. So hopefully we say that. And I remember when I was watching it thinking like, oh, it's quite gory and violent, and it's kind of the things that I don't really look for in a horror film, but it was okay. Like, following most of it, it just didn't stand out to me as amazing. And it wasn't until sort of the last 25 minutes of the film that I really got into it and really thought like, wow, this is blowing my mind. This is a great film. And then years later, I got a Netflix subscription for the first time, and it had come up on Netflix, and I'd completely forgotten what the name of the film was. And it was Netflix recommended it. And I was like, oh, that sounds like something I would like. And as I started watching, I thought, oh my God, it's that really cool film again. And then I never let it escape my mind. And now when people ask me what my favorite horror film is, this is the one that I always think of, where I just think it completely threw me. I wasn't expecting it. So yeah, really enjoyed it.
A really good choice, I think, because sometimes, it's a difficult question. What's your favorite horror movie? And it can be obvious, like it can be easy to go to the big names.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's a good choice.
Cool. Thanks.
Andy, but your first time watching this, yeah?
First time watching this. I met Emily a little while before the Bone Daddies thing, a regular work thing. We just both happened to be there talking about work things, and we got onto horror movies while we were there. And
have you seen Frankenhooker? Is what you said?
Yeah,
and it comes up everywhere.
Yeah. It's only when you're involved, then. It's only when we're both together. Yeah, we just got talking about horror movies, and when Emily gave the recommendation, I was like, I'd heard of the title, but I hadn't seen it before. So believe right there, got the phone out, put it on the watch list. But then we met Emily again not too long afterwards. So after we got talking, I think we said at the time, you're going to have to come on and we'll do this together. So I've saved it until we got this finally arranged. And then I watched it for the first time just the other day.
It's going to be interesting to find out like what you made of the twist and if you saw it coming. I think I've only seen this once before. 2019 was the first time I watched it, so like about 5 years ago. But I did watch it with my partner Charlie, and she didn't obviously know what the twist was, so it was interesting to kind of see it unfold, and see if she knew, or whether she, even when it unfolds, I think it's still not obvious. So then you're a bit like, hang on a minute.
Yeah. There's a little bit of a disconnect. I mean, we've conjured the controversy of the twist already. We'll unpick it when we get there.
Yeah. So
in
obviously,
the plot,
if you're listening, we will be spoiling this film, and obviously, by the time we get to the final act, we will be spoiling the big twist. So if you haven't seen this film before, go and watch it. Where you
the twist, which it feels like a lot of people turned on a dime one way or the other, whether they really liked it or hated it.
Yeah.
Personally, I thought it was fine. The twist was all right by me.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben hates it.
I don't hate it. I just think, obviously I'm not going to say what the twist was at this stage, but I'll just say I don't necessarily think it was needed. I think it was a perfectly good film without that twist. It wasn't like, oh, this film's kind of all right, and then suddenly twist, you're like, bang, right, that's it, this is great. I was a bit like, this is great. And then suddenly the twist, I was a bit like, I don't really know if I needed that. I was kind of already invested. And now it's almost like the narrative changes in such a way, almost where like, is it being a bit insensitive to a few different things? I don't know. Is it?
No, I see. Yeah, I see what you mean about that. I have to say, one of the things that I love about the twist is the whole time you've got these two girls together. And I'll try not to ruin it, as you've said, but you've got these two girls together, and the whole time I'm thinking like, who's going to die next? And you're asking the wrong question, and you don't really work out why it's the wrong question until later. But one of them is just useless. One of the friends is just absolutely incapable. Like, if it were not for her friend helping her along the whole time, telling her to be quiet and, coming up and rescuing her all the time, then she would have died earlier, and later on you're like, oh, that's why she was so terrified, like that's why she couldn't move, and
it's very interesting to watch back having seen it already.
Yeah.
Which I think is always good with a movie with a twist. Like the first time we watched The Sixth Sense back and we go, hang on a minute, no one's even speaking to Bruce Willis apart from this little boy. It's obvious he's a ghost.
Poor fucker's dead and still going to work.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll get into that in terms of the twist eventually. I don't think it means I hate the film. It just means, you know, when you're just like, I kind of saw it panning out a different way, and when it didn't, it almost feels like we're not being. Do you know what I mean? It feels like I want to see the version where it pans out in that way.
I think there's bits that it helps. There's bits where it's really great, as you say, Ben, that allows you to recontextualize things that you saw in the film. But then there are another couple of bits, and we'll get to them when we get there as well, that makes you think, well, why did that happen then if X is true?
Yeah.
And
we'll get to it, of course. Well, obviously we are going to cover the plot in quite a bit of detail. But in terms of the cast, we've got Cécile de France as Marie, Maïwenn as Alexia Sorel, that's the other friend. The friend. Just one name, this lady. She's like
Zendaya.
Prince, Madonna. All good choices. And then Philippe Nahon is the killer. And you know, a great scary killer. Obviously, someone we don't see his face for a good portion of the film very clearly. And when we do, when he takes the old hat off, it's kind of like Texas Chainsaw sort of vibes. Just a big greasy mechanic dude. Is he a mechanic? Is that what he is?
He's definitely got overalls on. He's
definitely got overalls on. Dirty old overalls.
Styled in the fashion of a mechanic.
Yeah. And then obviously Alexia's family, minor roles as well. They don't get to do much other than die.
And it's so pacey when this begins as well. I feel like we're going through the plot, and I feel like we're taking our time over talking about the background and things, because I feel when you actually start covering this film beat by beat, so much of it happens so fast. If you're bullet pointing out this movie, it's about half a dozen, because it's like boom, boom, boom. Once this starts happening, it doesn't slow down.
It certainly zips along, doesn't it? Yeah, 100%. So we start with Marie and Alex. They're best friends. They're on their way to stay at Alexia. It says Alexia. That's her name, isn't it? I'm just going to call her Alex. That's what it says in the Wikipedia thing. Parents' house for the weekend to study. What are you going to do? We're just off to study. You know, we're going to travel cross country to get somewhere nice to study. And I guess we established the friendship of these girls like fairly quickly.
We have a little Chekhov's dream sequence to begin with before they do that. That comes back later. But
what was that bit?
Little dream sequence where Marie's running through the forest and she's being chased by herself.
Oh yeah, that's right. Being chased by herself.
And then she wakes up, and then, as you say, Ben, they have a lovely little sing-song. This film likes its needle drops. I think the music is used very effectively in this. Most notably, a Muse track they use later on, but I think music's used to quite good effect in this movie.
Like the whole of the Muse song as well. They've gone, listen, we got the rights for this Muse song. I think we should just play it in full at some point and then play it over the end credits as well. Why not?
This one, pretty good choice. Lovely sing-song altogether.
97. I guess Muse weren't much of a big thing around about then. So that is
little indie record you wouldn't have heard of.
2003. Why did I say 97?
You were still
even more indie.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, silly me. So they get to her parents' house, and she gets like shown around, meets the family, have a bit of dinner.
Before we even get there, though, something I wanted to bring up, we'll talk about it a bit more later on. As we see them arriving, so there's a little incidental scene where they where Alex kind of tricks Marie and pretends she's going to leave her in a cornfield. That kind of builds up a little, we get some fake scares for anything's begun. But
as the classic, just as you go to open the car door, drives away.
Drive away ever so slightly.
That's
so annoying.
Such a good joke. I love it.
But earlier on, we see like the family are preparing for the visit. The younger brother is out playing cowboy in the fields with the dog, and then sort of nearby near the farm, you just see that dirty old van of the killer.
Oh,
sort of it feels. Did you get the impression he's sort of watching over the farm and picking a target at this point, or is he just incidentally somewhere else?
Yeah, I guess it kind of feels like that, doesn't it?
Sort of on the periphery.
He kind of is. If I remember, he's still driving at one scene, and he pulls up. So it's, for me, it was like the kid, like this guy is arriving around the same time the girls are arriving.
Okay. Because at the time he's well, it looks like where plays a little cheeky trick on us, the audience. It looks like someone is getting a gobby in a car, but then turns out it's just a severed head that he's having sex with there, and he chucks it out the window. Fly tipping. On top of all of his other crimes.
On top of all of his other crimes.
Imagine if it'd be a real Al Capone situation. That's what they get him for. At the end, there's no proof he did any of these murders, but on CCTV, there's you wazzing this head out of the car.
Oh.
I'll see you fined for that, mate. Take this fixed penalty notice.
It is an extreme visual cue to really set the tone for the film, isn't it? Like, that is just like, okay, we've seen some Friends, and then we suddenly see this, and we're like, oh shit, this is next level stuff. This is horrific. And did you get the feeling like it was just coincidental that this person was here? Like, whoever was around, he'd end up killing.
I got the feeling like it was kind of coincidental, but it was more like he was picking a target, and this is where he happened to be, and he'd finished with his last target. So it was like, this obsession is over. Now I'm ready to chase that high.
It's almost like a loop of it's like this process he goes through. As soon as he's finished with one, how's he getting any work done in his whatever he does, mechanic? How's he getting any work done? He's constantly off murdering people and severing heads.
Price's mechanics charge though, Ben, to be honest.
That's true. He changed a couple of spark plugs 2 weeks ago, and he's been dining off of that for.
He said, do you need to recharge your aircon gas while it's there? How much is that going to be? Oh, anywhere between 40 and $3,000.
Yeah. And your clutch is fucked. Sorry.
Your tires are just about legal, but you might want to get those done.
Classic.
Oh, brake pads are going. Looks like, please.
Oh, yeah. Please give us a break. So yeah, they settle down for dinner, and then they go to bed like pretty soon after that, don't they?
Marie has a little watch of Alex having a shower while she's punching a dart on the swing.
Oh yeah, she sure does. But even at this stage, and again, I'm not going to spoil anything immediately, but even at this stage, I didn't feel anything was in any way untoward. I kind of just thought, is there a little bit something that we haven't seen between these two?
I just took it as like a maybe innocent... that one has feelings for the other, but it's not reciprocated, because Alex talks about a guy she's planning to meet, and she asks Marie, when you're going to meet someone, because I'm not a. She goes pretty harsh, and maybe there's something. Beautiful language is French, but when it's translated to English, she goes, "No, I'm not a slut like you." And I'm like, "All right."
I'm not a slut like you, actually. Jesus Christ, no need for that.
I feel, excuse me, I'm just nipping out to have a cigarette. And then you see her sort of gazing longingly up at the window while Alex is in the shower. So it took me okay, so you are interested in her, not, dating guides. So there's obviously, by the sound of the setup we have here, like, kind of a one-way sort of emotional connection going on here right now.
Yeah. Marie looks like the lead singer of the Cranberries with that late 90s haircut. Again, I keep saying 90s, 2003. I just kept thinking she was going to burst out into zombie at any given moment. It's a great look, though. I think like something about her as like a final girl. I think is a very like iconic look, and obviously the poster of her holding the big soul thing as well is really striking. Yeah, it's good. It's awesome.
Is she in many more things? Because I think she puts on a great performance in this one. Like, obviously, not watching all that much French cinema. Is she just
like
very popular in French movies?
There's a big old filmography which goes all the way down to 2023. So it looks like she's getting regular work in various things. A couple of American things. It looks like she's a voice in a few animated things. Cars 2, The Jungle Book, maybe something slightly different than this film.
Oh, she's in The French Dispatch.
Oh, okay.
Definitely not been typecast. So that's
definitely not been typecast. No.
And I now find it because I think her look in this is so iconic. It's very strange when you look at her standard publicity shots where she has actually quite long, like quite volume-full hair, rather than this very short cut that she has here. Neither are bad luck, but I think this is a particularly iconic one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see. Interesting. Okay, yeah. So everybody goes to bed. Everyone's ever so tired. Marie indulges in some reggae wanking, as we obviously already mentioned.
Yeah.
Whatever floats your boat, of course.
If you have on your bingo card, then you've won for the week.
Yeah, exactly. And if there's one thing that is going to ruin mazzing off to your favorite playlist worse than someone's mom walking in, it's a horrible murderer turning up at the door.
We've all heard that. Have we all heard this story? I think this might be an urban legend of somebody who was listening to music, indulging themselves in some self gratification, and when they opened their eyes, a cup of tea was on the was on the bedside table. Just appeared, like someone's mum had brought it in while they were.
Marie hadn't listened to that story. Obviously, you would never.
That's horrible. It's a horrible story. But yeah,
what would you do though, Ben, if you'd been in the mum's position in that when you're walking in to bring someone a lovely cup of tea? Would you have left the tea there? Would you have backed out the room silently? Would you have dashed the tea in their face?
I've dashed the tea in their face. I think you'd immediately know within a split second what was going on, and you'd immediately leave. Give them their privacy. Never ever mention it ever again to anyone.
Yeah, the thing to do would be to quietly leave and not get up.
And if it is a family member, then wash your eyes out with bleach immediately.
Yeah. Would you be tempted to do a big noise in the door to save them further embarrassment?
Yeah, possibly. Stop wanking!
No, step back and then knock the door really hard.
Oh yeah, I like doing that. Yeah, sometimes you got to do that, haven't you? Like if you're in a public toilet and you're worried about someone trying to.
Oh, I get worried.
Cubicle. Start doing some big coughs or just stomping about in there.
Real life horrors. Like you got when you're using the toilets in a public convenience and you're not that confident in the quality of the door locks.
Oh yeah, the door lock is like a what's it?
Yeah. You lost me. Where are you going with that one at first? And I was thinking well, how often does it come up where you are in a public toilet needing a wink? I don't understand where this is going. But
no, I didn't mean
using the toilets for the intended purposes.
I didn't mean that. Oh no, I've been caught short. I simply must. No.
No. Absolutely gasp. No.
No. I feel like we're revealing too much. We're revealing too much about ourselves, Andy. So maybe just move swiftly on to this killer. Turns up, knocks at the door.
Knocks at the door. The dad opens the door. Qu'est-ce que c'est? What's up, mate? Gets a big slash.
I was like, why is no one waking up? And I think we see Alexia has got earplugs in. Obviously, Marie is listening to reggae. I don't really. Maybe the boy and the mum are
little boy ever so tired. Sleepers. When kids are properly asleep, though, that's it, though, isn't it? How many times have you been carried up to the car by one of your out from the car to your bed by one of your parents?
You've teleported. How did I get here? Not recently, Andy. But so the killer, this guy, we don't really see his face. He's got a hat on. His face is in shadow. He's in sort of some weird yellow overalls, big greasy scary man, slashes the dad at the face with a razor, then like pushes his head between two bits of the banister. And I mean, it's quite imaginative in terms of a decapitation. I don't think I've seen this in film before or after.
Smushed his head with a chest of drawers.
Yeah, like an armoire. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of blood. Obviously, this is the first initial moment where we see like the blood spraying from the wound.
You know the tone of this film by now, because it literally his head is in camera, like no backing away from this. It's like a downward shot, as if you were standing on the stairs looking down at it, right? This man's head gets smashed clean off.
This man means business. All the while, I think Marie can kind of like hear some sort of commotion. So she's like upstairs, sort of like trying to work out what to do, looking out the window, trying to understand what's happening.
And he kills the dog as well, does the murderer, ever so rude.
Oh, yeah. Again, you understand this film is setting out its stall very early on, where it's going, dad's heads are getting smushed off, and also that dog. Oh, surely you wouldn't kill the dog, will you? Well, there it is. Dog's dead.
Yeah.
So far we know anything beginning with D, not safe. No dads, no dogs, all on the menu.
No dogs or dads.
And this is pretty swiftly into the film, right? So for what, a 95-minute movie, this is what, 20 minutes in?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So now Alex's mother hears something. She goes downstairs, sees her husband dead, and then we don't really see what's happening, but we kind of hear what Marie can hear, which is the killer like grabbing hold of the mum, and she's screaming and trying to get away, or whatever. And this is when Marie's kind of like starts hatching her plan to either escape or call the police. There's like a phone just on top of a wardrobe.
Yeah.
And there's like a whole scene.
Hiding is her plan.
What was that?
Yeah. Hiding is her plan.
Yeah.
So
Hiding's the plan first, yeah.
She has a genius move, right? She basically makes up, because she's in the guest room, being the guest, she basically smooths out the bed covers and everything to make it look like no one's staying there, basically. So any murderers that come looking.
Sink. She dries out the bowl of the sink, I remember, with like a towel. So and that stuck with me forever. I always think about like if someone ever breaks into, how do you remove any evidence now that you've immediately been there? That's one of those scenes that got me.
Yeah, it's good because you're almost like, why would you even think of that in that moment? So it's almost like ingenious that she does. And then we think that she's hidden behind the shower curtain, and this is where the first like real tense moment with the killer kind of like stalking around looking for her. And then when he pulls the shower curtain back, she's not there. She's under the bed. And even this moment where he pulls the mattress up to see her, we still think, oh right, where is she then? But she's under there. She's just got the presence of mind to just pull her legs out the way.
Yep.
And literally, it's like playing Alien Isolation. She's entirely still. She has like a hand covered it and like as almost holding her breath so as to not give herself away in that incredibly tense little moment.
Yeah.
And
sorry, go on, Emily. Sorry.
I think it's at this point in the film when I started thinking, oh, the killer's after her specifically. Like it's something for her, and she's had some close like scenario or something. So that was sort of the idea that I started hatching in my brain when I was watching this the first time.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily thought that at this stage. I kind of just thought he was just
I was sort of taken with this one that he was after a certain. He looks like maybe someone who's scouted out the premises, so he's looking for other people, but especially with what he does to Alex right now, whereas everyone else he kills in fairly short order, he captures Alex, right? We see that after he doesn't find Marie, he goes to Alex's room and you just see him grab her and cover her mouth, and then when we see Alex a moment later, she's been sort of bound and tied up. So my thought was watching this, okay, this is someone who has maybe watched the house and he knows who to expect in there, and he has certain people he's after. He's clearly after these young women in particular.
So yeah, obviously when She goes down. Marie goes downstairs and finds Alex chained in the bedroom. She sort of says she's going to go and find help or try and like get her free. And obviously, at this stage, Alex is distraught, as you would expect. Nothing seems untoward at this stage, though. I guess. And what happens? I think the little boy ends up running out of the house. But I'm not sure if the mum gets killed before this because it's
I
while
think the
Marie
mum gets got
she's in it
first.
Yeah.
Because Marie hides in the cupboard. Very sort of Halloween style, right? We've got the slatted wardrobe doors, and we see. I think Marie hides in the cupboard, hearing someone approaching, but it's not the killer that bursts into the room in the first instance. It's the mom, quite injured already. And you see her have her. And again, film pulls no punches, all very practically done.
Yeah.
A really quite intense, straight to camera actor looking right down the barrel of the camera, having a throat cut and basically bleeding to death on the spot. You hear her asking the killer why they've done it, to which he gives no answer. Marie is almost sprayed with the blood through the lattices of the door we see. And then I guess
like when the killer leaves and she goes out to sort of see the very last moments of the mum says to her, "Why?" And that's quite an interesting little moment, I guess.
I took it as like watching it. I took it as kind of like, oh, is she asking why she didn't help or intervene or say something at this point? But the killer's already making a fairly short work of all of these things, all of the people, right? Even those that have tried to fight, because the dad initially fights him in the doorway, right?
Yeah, it's just one of those killer, and I guess it is kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre in a way, where like the killer is just a bit of a
such a tank,
like an imposing presence.
Yeah,
not necessarily athletic in any way, but there's like this big imposing presence that it's like people have just got no chance against him.
Yeah.
He's just a serious unit, isn't he? Okay, so yeah, that's when Tom runs from the house into the cornfield. Killer goes after him with a gun. Does he get a gun from his truck? I think he does, doesn't he?
He's got like a shotgun or he's got some kind of gun, right, with him, and he shoots them. And it's quite a little boy, right? Again, this film's setting out, like, how old is this kid? Like
8, something like that.
Yeah. Like primary school age boy that basically just gets shot out in the cornfield.
And again, we don't see this exact moment, but we do see a moment later where it's confirmed with the body. But it just shows that there's no one's off limits in this. Dads, dogs, little dudes, they're all getting murdered by this guy. This guy's on a kill streak. So Marie, I think she returns to Alex, trying to free her again. Killer's heard coming back. Marie sneaks into the kitchen and she takes a butcher's knife. I think the killer drags Alex to the truck. Is that right?
Throws Alex into the truck, and then they get on the road. Marie is able to creep into the back of the truck, and again a great tense scene where the killer is driving them away. He only knows that Alex is in the car, and then Marie is in there as well, saying, "I will get you out, but you need to calm down, otherwise you'll blow this for us, and you'll get his attention."
This was a good moment where Marie's like kind of waiting to stab him. And then as you're kind of like, you're anticipating it happening as well, he just closes the door. He doesn't even doesn't even appear, and he can't even get stabbed. Just closes the door and locks it as well and drives off. Yeah. Not going well for them so far. Where are we?
So they drive along for a little bit, go to the petrol station. Marie is able to get out of the car when they've stopped because he's filling up with petrol.
Yeah, how does she get out? Does she just pick the lock or something? Or I can't even remember what happens.
Maybe he's got central locking, and when he got out of the car.
Yeah. I feel like he's more prepared.
Yeah.
So yeah, Marie gives Alex the knife, and she sneaks into the gas station shop for help. And there's like the clerk guy, I think it's called Jimmy.
Now, the killer seems to know Jimmy when he comes in. So
yeah, exactly. He seems like he's a regular, right?
Yeah, seems like a real local guy. Because so Marie is hiding in the shop. She comes in at first, and this poor. We've all been there. We've all worked retail, right? You're there. You don't want to be there. You're on the shift that no one else wanted. It's late Saturday night. Someone runs in and thinks, call the bloody police, and then runs around the back of the shelves.
Yeah.
When.
Oh, for God's sake.
And then one of the regulars comes in. And he seems to know me. He's like, all right, Jimmy, how's it going? Said, yeah. It's dog shit, innit? Working the weekend.
He says something weird to him where he says something like, oh, this is a great place to bring girls. And I was like, is it? The gas station shop. Everyone can have a lovely microwaved sausage roll.
Oh, the petrol station. You'd be what a lucky date you would have to be
what a bevy of delights.
Who hasn't been treated by going out with someone fancy and they take you to the petrol station? Go on, have whatever you want. Licorice.
Have whatever you want. Not too much, though. Not too expensive. It can be pricey in here, all right? So yeah, this is the scene behind me on the background now, where Marie is kind of like just hiding behind the shelving and stuff. Look, they sell toys in here. Didn't realize that. That's nice, isn't it? It's good.
Yeah, anything from there. Visit some.
You would never be bored. I take it back. Actually, you'd never be bored. Alcohol, toys. What a time.
Petrol.
Petrol. I love some of that petrol. So yeah, she hides, and then Jimmy is tasked with getting some alcohol out of like a little locked cabinet for the killer.
Oh, I know. Get some of the special stuff from the locked cabinet.
But he's being a difficult customer, and he's like, actually, have you got any of this? What about this? Get out from the top shelf. But it's all a ruse, because it seems like he's only doing it to distract Jimmy, and then he axes...
Well, he's trying to investigate what he's looking at, right? And then when he's finally got the right booze, he axes him right in the chest.
Yeah.
It reminds me that, Ben, with being a difficult customer, I witnessed that real life horror the other day, just down my local co-op. And not being a smoker, like many people aren't anymore, but I do know that cigarettes these days, you have to basically have them in identical, tedious packaging to not advertise them.
Yeah.
And I just wanted it to end. I don't know how this guy did it, but he went time and time again. He was like, can I have so-and-so kings, please? Like 20 so-and-so kings.
Skins, please.
And then this teenager that's like this 18-year-old like working at a shop goes and goes, no, that's a pack of 20. I wanted 40. I was like, okay. No, they're super kings. Not good. Like, God, is there that many flavors of cigarette, please? And he did it about 4 times. I felt so bad. Yeah.
You've got minty or not minty?
Surely there's just cigarette flavor, and also, super kings are as good as... I don't know. Yeah. Please let this transaction end.
Just let Andy buy his crunchy and let him leave. All right? That's all he wants to do.
Didn't even have anything that fancy. Some gum.
A real difference in personality types, because I'm the kind of person that if I ask for something and they gave me the wrong thing the first time, I'd probably say, oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted this. And then if they did it again the second time, I'd just buy it and just leave. Like,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
To be honest, I might not even ask them to change it once. I was like, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine. That's
especially
perfect,
especially if it was closer. It's still a type of cigarette.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is pretty much what happens here, but
that man in the shop and the murderer, the same energy.
But
they
luckily,
asked for the same thing, except in the co-op, someone didn't get axed.
Well, maybe he should have. He gets put out of his misery, though. Poor Jimmy, with the axe, killed, and then the killer immediately just returns to the truck, which is kind of weird because I kind of thought he's in there because he knows Marie's in there, but like he didn't seem to, because then he just leaves. He just fucks off. He doesn't seem to care. And that's when Marie calls the police, but they're not very helpful at all, because like, where are you?
She's so impatient. I felt so bad imagining being this police phone operator. She's like, where are you? She's like, I don't know. So, well, I can't. She's like, fuck's sake, right? I'm going to burn this petrol station all down. Maybe then you'll find it hangs up immediately.
Yeah. And I think you would just go, well, fuck you then. She needs that thing, that what 3 words thing for the map. So you can just have a look and go, this is exactly where I am. But no, unfortunately not. And then she immediately sets off after the killer.
Yeah, thankfully, there's a lovely sports car available. Whose car is this? Maybe I looked at, is it Jimmy's car?
Jimmy's? I guess it might be Jimmy because she gets the keys from behind the counter, right? Is that right? Yeah. So yeah, takes the clerk's keys, uses his car to follow the killer down a deserted road. This is when we get the needle drop of Muse. What was it?
Played back to back. It's Newborn, right?
Newborn, yeah. Played back to back while she's tracking the killer down a deserted road. But then it kind of like flips because the killer notices Marie following him and begins to like turns around, begins to ram the vehicle, and then rams the car off the road where it flips and wrecks. And that's when Marie gets out, all injured and bloodied.
I feel like she might have been able to outrun him in his little rusty little van, but she didn't like a sport, like a muscle car, right? Like Bumblebee.
You'd be well embarrassed if you got run. Basically, he's driving a milk float, right?
Yeah, he's driving a milk float, but he's obviously got the engine of like the Jeepers Creepers man's car.
Exactly. Beating you. So she gets out of the car. She like on foot. She's injured. Is this where this kind of relates back to her dream? That's a bit later, isn't it?
That's only a tiny bit later. She nips into like a polytunnel greenhouse.
This is what reminded me.
Winter.
This is what reminded me of I Saw the Devil. There's a moment very early on in that film where they're in like a greenhouse just like that, and there's like a fight sequence that's kind of similar, I guess. It's like a killer versus a cop, but it's similar vibes. But yeah, but this is a great moment. The torch hanging from like a piece.
He's a clever killer, isn't he? Yeah,
he's incredibly clever. And immediately, as soon as you see that, you go, "Oh shit, he's behind."
Yeah, it's such like a stomach drop of the tension, right? Because she's made herself a weapon. She's made herself a classic crafted weapon.
She's made herself
a baseball bat
WWE's Mick Foley as Cactus Jack would have taken to Hell in a Cell against Triple H at Royal Rumble 2000. A 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire, which is an absolutely fantastic weapon in any circumstance.
A classic weapon, but then you get that stomach drop where she's like, right, mate, I'm going to bash you. And when she goes down to bash him, it's just the torch hanging on a pair of shoelaces there. And then you've got like a split second between you notice it where someone's plastic bagging you over the head.
Yeah. It's not pleasant. And as we mentioned a few times, especially in the Black Christmas episode, Andy, you have to be very careful about getting a plastic bag on your head.
I feel growing up here in the 80s, it's one of my biggest fears that was drummed into me. Like, you put a plastic bag anywhere near your head and you'll get Black Christmas faster than you can even think about it.
Within seconds, exactly. So
she's getting Black Christmas, but unfortunately for the killer, despite all his cleverness and his decoy setting, he did not account for a maybe getting hands on a big old rock to bash him in the head with.
Bashes him in the head and immediately reverses the scenario so that she's suffocating him with the bag.
She gives him a bit of suffocating, and then, having gone all to the trouble of making that weapon, she follows her own rap hero Eazy-E's teachings and bashes his head in with a Louisville Slugger. And that's exactly what she does. Rest in peace, Eazy-E. So that's what she does. And we get a classic slasher comeback, right, where she's almost mirrored what's happened to her. Like, he has the plastic over her head and she's like, yeah, fucking sucked in, mate, got you. And he comes and does a classic slasher revive and strangle.
Mm-hmm.
How does she finish off? Does she just bash him again? No, she just holds the plastic over his head to finish him off, right?
Is that right?
I think so.
It's pretty brutal. Like, the sound design on this bit is pretty brutal as well. It sounds very wet as his face is getting smushed.
Yeah. But she's only gone and done it, bloody done it, and then she's goes back. She goes back to the killer's van, releases Alex. I tell you what, though, everybody, she's being ever so unreasonable, and she isn't calming down in the least, despite being told quite clearly that the murderer is dead.
And I guess you just think,
no helping some people.
She's in shock. She's in shock. She's had a tough time. Her whole family are dead.
Yeah, she has had a bad day, but I tell you who else is having a bad day. We pop over to another scene back at the garage. Some French policemen doing the night shift, ever so on. Like, what's going on with this garage? Closed. We better check in because the killer did put the closed sign on after he'd done the murders.
I'm assuming are they following up on the phone call?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're following up on the phone call because you get like it's in the middle of nowhere. I'm at a garage. How many places can there be? So the police get there. They find poor Jimmy's body and said, oh, better phone the detectives, better phone the DA, I think he says.
Yeah. And then they go and look at the CCTV footage from previously to see what's going on here. What's happened
with this bloody murderer then that's done this? Who's this woman phoning about? Let's have a look at the image of the mechanic murderer, as he might be known.
Yeah.
No, that sounds like he only murders mechanics.
Good, but you rip-off merchants, bloody love them.
So there are some good ones. But
do you remember, Emily, what you made of this particular moment? Did it all fall into place for you?
You watching the video, like
or
the
were you like, I have absolutely no idea what I'm watching or what that could possibly mean?
I don't think it all fell into place immediately. I think there was a little bit of a mindfuck moment when I was watching it, and I thought, like, has she fallen into some sort of psychosis? But so the killer of the gas station attendant is revealed to be Marie is her name.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking, like, has she just completely, but then it cuts back to the scene with the two girls. And as you sort of watch their relationship together, you realize the whole time Alex has been terrified of Marie. And that's more when it sort of sunk in. So I think the very first scene where you realize that Marie is more involved in this than she's, you've been seeing everything from her eyes throughout the whole film, not the perspective of other people. And I think that's the first time that you see it externally. And then it all sort of continues to progress.
Yeah. So essentially, the real killer all along is Marie. The mechanic killer guy doesn't exist. Just imaginary, just a facet of Marie's personality, perhaps. But even means like the scenes where we see the killer alone, or at the start with the severed head and stuff, like is all sort of fantasy as well.
That's what confused me. But yeah, I think I really liked Emily's take on that. That's roughly the same time. So mentally, that killer is arriving there on the scene and kind of surveying what's happening as they're pulling up on the thing. So in that persona, that character, I guess the only thing I can't explain is where the van comes from. Is the van imaginary, or is the van real?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, was the chase sequence van versus car that totally imaginary as well? Also, like, if you're thinking of it quite literally, in terms of her, like even her like fighting that version of herself, is it like she's having some sort of like mental back and forth, some sort of like tussle in her head of like trying to not be a psychopath, and then
like in Superman 3 where he fights himself in the junkyard?
Yeah.
Puts him in loads of tires and buries him.
Yeah, exactly that. This is the same film. Yeah, so it's watching it back like that, and obviously, Andy, you seeing it unfold for the first time, were you pretty confused to start with, or was it quickly?
I think I've seen enough horror. I accepted it fairly quickly because I think it does a really nice job of showing what it was. You know, like we get like quick flashes of the previous murders, which are slightly reframed, don't we? You see Marie pushing the chest of drawers into the dad's head. You see her pointing the gun at the brother in the field. So it's quickly reframed for us. And for me, certainly watching it this time, I had taken it pretty well. I didn't go into this expecting there to be a twist. I didn't know anything about it other than Emily telling me that it was good and it was a French movie. So I watched it on those premises. I hadn't read anything about it before. So I took it as, okay, you know what, this is an interesting, I think you said Texas Chainsaw earlier, Ben. Like, it doesn't need an explanation. It doesn't need to be that this guy has a backstory. It's just a bad man that happens.
Yeah.
So I wasn't looking for there to be any twist. So for me, I think it fell into place in like the perfect moment for me. Like, I think the connections came together in my mind as I saw the policeman putting that video on. Because why are you going to watch that videotape so you can confirm that something's happened? And then, like, mere moments after, I thought, I wonder. Yes, it is. It's that. It's exactly that, and it showed me. So I felt like I was on board with it pretty quickly. Do you remember your feelings when you watched it, Ben?
I guess the first time I watched it was just a few years ago, but I remember kind of being a bit like, okay, I get it, but am I a bit disappointed by the fact that that's what this is? Yeah, maybe, because it just makes me go back and sort of pick holes in things that perhaps I totally accepted up to that point and, you know, enjoyed. And the fact that I'm suddenly going, oh, right. Okay. So now I'm thinking of this film completely differently. I kind of like the next sequence we get when we kind of see the killer, the mechanic killer 1 second, and then we see Marie the next second. I think that's done really well. I think that is great. However, I don't know if I fully believe the reasoning, or like I understand the relationship between these characters or Marie. I feel like maybe when we established a relationship with these characters early on, there needs to be something more. Not something that would ruin this twist, but something that's there that we can look back on and go, oh, okay, well, that kind of makes more sense. It just kind of feels a bit, it comes out of left field, perhaps, and doesn't quite. And I know I mentioned before about perhaps it's being a bit insensitive towards a few different things. I can get that. I've seen a lot of the criticism that's aimed at it is like, because it's written by a man and directed by a man, and it's kind of about a same sex love affair or same sex relationship, or like two female friends and one of them's got unrequited love. That is a bit insensitive to that, because it's like, lesbians are nuts. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's got that sort of vibe to it, and fine. That's, you can totally see it that way, and I understand that. I don't think I see it that way. I just see it from point of view of, in terms of scary slasher, scary killer. It's a really cool cat and mouse thriller. Does it need this to now make it, oh yeah, okay, that's a great twist? I think it's just a twist for the sake of a twist, if that makes sense. I can see why you would like it. I can see why you would dislike it. I'm a bit indifferent.
Ben, I'm judging. No, I think it is a twist for the sake of a twist, but it's what sets it apart from other slasher films. So it's sure. And I think that, like, I completely get what you're saying about the playing into different stereotypes. So it's always sort of the LGBTQ representation in horror is always perverse and associated with like a mental disorder and some sort of problem. And I get that. And I think with the time frame, with it being originally from 2003, that probably isn't too far off from the truth, from what the director was going with this idea.
Yeah.
I think more unexpected. And I think as well, the character clearly has dissociative identity disorder, so the multiple personalities, and they're completely compartmentalized, and so she sort of is herself, or maybe one representation is Marie and one representation is the killer, and they're completely acting of their own accord at different times. But there's a big discussion about to what degree DID exists, and and how it portrayed. And I think the thing that comes across is that when she's sort of making the bed and cleaning up the bowl and doing all the different things she does, where she's like just seconds away from protecting herself, or she seems to have some sort of awareness of the situation that she can protect herself or protect Alex or do something else. She's those two personalities are too linked. So either they're completely separate and they're their own sort of entities, or they have some sort of knowledge and she's a little bit more conscious of it and she's fighting it. But they've kind of towed the line in a way that shows that they don't really understand the way that DID works.
Yeah. That there should essentially, those identities should exist separate of each other and almost not understand the existence of the other one. Is that right?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Or it's like either or. It's either they're completely separate or the amount of understanding is a lot greater and she's more aware.
Almost like I do like the idea of like seeing a physical battle is a representation of that sort of mental back and forth between her trying to like keep this personality at bay, but then allowing it in. But like, is the kind of like unrequited love thing a bit, I don't know, a bit on the nose? Like, the fact is she could have just decided, actually, I'm going to kill my friend and all of her family.
I mean, did you read
even if there was a bit where she was like, I don't want to kill them, and this other personality was the one that was going, no, but I want to kill them, and then she was like battling with it in that way. It feels like in this final act, she just completely gives in. There's no more Marie. It is just the killer.
Yeah.
Essentially. Sorry, Andy, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to ask you though, is that we see in the killer's van, and I guess the killer's van must exist because the concrete saw, the circular saw that we've seen in a while, is in the van. So that must exist, whether in physical space the Marie that we know brought that there previously and left it there, or whether it is a van that she picked up along the way and that was incidentally there. I guess it has to be the former, because my question was, you see, as the killer is driving along in an earlier scene, when he's pouring the wine or the alcohol through to Alex in the back, you see them look at loads of other photos, because he's taken a photo of Alex that he puts onto his little sun visor thing, and it's surrounded by the photos of other women. So my question for you is this a reveal that the Marie character is effectively a serial killer and these other murders have happened? Or is this all just a construction of a persona that has never done another murder until this particularly violent outburst related to this, the disassociation, the feelings that she has for her friend? Or do all those previous murders exist as well and this is an ongoing thing?
I think the latter, when you said about just a construction.
The killer exists as a persona and hasn't necessarily done all of these other things.
I don't think because obviously they've driven like cross country or something. I imagine they've been together for a little while, and it also makes me feel that she's only acting this way because of that unrequited love. Yeah. It's not like she's just off killing people for the sake of it, and then this love story happens to sort of cross over. I just think that this unrequited love in this particular story has pushed her over the edge, essentially, and this persona she's created to deal with that, I guess.
And I can follow you on some of the areas that are insensitive, disrespectful, whatever, for certain demographics, whether it be the LGBTQ angle, maybe it be it the gender angle, maybe it be the representations of real life mental health problems. I can see why some of those things are challenging, but also I don't know that you will ever find a perfect alternative for this, for you to be able to tell a story. And we live in times when people are looking at the sensitivities around what you tell stories of. But I guess, again, for the purposes of making a piece of fiction and wanting to surprise an audience, I'm not sure if there is a perfect way you could have represented this that holds no way of being upsetting to someone. I mean, essentially, when you're making a movie which features incredibly violent murders, to a degree, you're looking to be provocative and unpleasant in a sense anyway, right? And I think it's very difficult if you want to present like a surprising story to someone. I'd rather it be this than, oh no, you drove over the grave of that man and then a spooky ghost of a murderer has got into your friend and is making a bad. It's ridiculous. It's a very silly way for it to happen. Like, as much as it's not a great representation of those sort of dissociative personalities, as long as you're not being so bad to say, hey, look, here is a name of a real illness that people have, and I'm representing it as making you, and if you're talking about those types of things, there's many more people that need to enter that courtroom for every time schizophrenia is represented in a completely unrealistic way, or psychosis even.
But I think if this film was made today, perhaps it would represent it in a bit more of a complex way. I totally understand it's of its time, and I think if everything unfolded in a slightly different way, I probably would believe it. But I think going back, you are inclined to pick holes in it, and that's what I feel like I don't want to pick holes in it because I enjoyed it up to this point. So it's almost like the film is now making me go back and look at something that I already enjoyed and be like, oh, what about this? What about that? When it's just like I was taking it at face value. So that's probably why I was a bit disappointed.
We'll take your reasoning, Ben. At least you didn't say it. And I couldn't believe it was a woman doing those murders. Unrealistic.
I don't think a woman could push a chest of drawers that hard that it knocks someone's head off. You expect me to believe that? Oh, excuse me.
No.
It's silly, of course.
I mean, we have a whole last 15 minutes of the movie to cover yet. It feels like we've talked about the big thing, but effectively, so Alex is hysterical. Marie lets her go, trying to comfort her. Obviously, we have seen this reveal now, so we know where Alex is so upset. She screams at her that you killed my family, while Marie is saying, "No, I've got him. He's gone. He can't hurt you again." Alex doesn't see Marie's reasoning here and says, "Get a bloody knife up you, mate," and gives her a stab in.
Stabs her in the stomach, and then like runs into the forest. So obviously Marie gets the concrete saw out of the van, and this is when we see moments where it's the killer, the physical manifestation of the killer chasing after her with his face battered to shit from having taken the barbed wire wrapped bit of wood in his grill over and over again. And then but then we see other shots of it does kind of flip back and forth between it being Marie and it being the killer, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It's almost like that's to further establish, if the audience is at any point still confused, we are further establishing the fact that they are one and the same.
Yeah, we sure are. You know, the true victim of this film, everybody, apart from the dog, poor dog, rest in peace, just doing his job. Man having drive.
Man, it's bloody man again, isn't it? Man having drive. Man having drive with car that doesn't start very well. It's probably taking him ages to get that car started for his
He's probably on his way to the bloody mechanics. Oh, mechanic! Of course, he doesn't look like the mechanic. Be glad to see him.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he's having a drive. Alex runs out into the road and gets in and says, bloody go, will you? But he can't. Classic car not starting situation. Fantastic little action beat here where Marie / the mechanic murderer runs over the top of the car and just gives him a circular sawing right through the windscreen. And this film, if you think it hasn't held back before, any element of being on the chain is completely turned loose here, right?
Yeah.
Lots of blood. I think she pretty much disembowels him, doesn't she? And Alex in the backseat gets covered in the blood as well.
Honestly, it looks like she's just
inside the car, outside the car. Just
looks like she's ripped a jam donut in half. It's terrible. It's a right mess. It's a right dog's breakfast in there.
Dog's breakfast. Alex gets out of the car and we see like a bit of glass, like jam.
Oh, it's horrible. It's wincing watching this bit. This film, like the practical effects work on this, it should be applauded. It's they've really created some disturbing injuries here.
She's got a crowbar with her. She crawls away. Marie, like, basically stands over her with the sword, doesn't she? Like you think that's going to be it, but then she doesn't kill her there. She basically forces Alex to tell her that she loves her, and that nothing will come between them. Gives her a kiss as well, like a forced kiss, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like repeats this, because we heard this phrase in the dream at the beginning. So nothing's going to come between us again, which out of context doesn't mean anything. We see it here at the very end. They kiss, but thankfully she's got a crowbar with her that she basically puts right through her.
Yeah, but she puts right through her. But I guess it's kind of like, because you think that's it for her, but I guess kind of like through the sort of chest, through the shoulder-ish, I guess, because she's not dead. Not dead.
No.
There's a final scene with Marie in a psychiatric hospital. I don't know why Alex would be there watching her through a one-way mirror. I think you'd stay as far away as possible.
Yeah. Do the police really need her to identify that?
Yeah.
Is that the woman? This woman that was caught at the scene?
Yeah, it was her. We got a CCTV of it. Yeah, it was definitely her. And then obviously we get a final moment, final scare with Marie like grinning and sort of like reaching for Alex on the other side of the one-way mirror.
I mean, to be fair, the policeman never does confirm, because she says, "Oh, she can't see me," right? We never hear the police person say yes or no. For all we know, he could have said, "No, that's just a window. Of course she can."
Yeah. Exactly.
But she reaches out for her, and then Muse come back on again.
Yeah, and then we get another playthrough of Muse. But yeah, obviously a twist that has divided divided fans for decent reason, I think. But I think that's good, because it gets people talking, doesn't it? It gets us doing a podcast for 2 hours about it. But that's the end of the movie. Have we got any name game, Andy? Do we need to explain how name game works?
I've got a couple for you. So, Emily, the name of the name game is that I'm going to read to you a little bit of a synopsis of a fictional film. All films are fictional, but this one doesn't exist as a film that you could watch. It's going to be ever so slightly different to the plot of High Tension, and conveniently enough, the name will rhyme with High Tension. Yeah, the name will rhyme. I say rhyme loosely.
Okay,
it'll make sense after one or two. I've got a couple as well, Andy. So if you want to do a little back and forth, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Okay, so here is the first one. Oh, what's the synopsis? Then?
Marie and Alexia decide to spend a quiet weekend at Alexia's parents' secluded farmhouse, but it turns into an endless night of terror.
Okay, so Marie and Alex go to her parents' remote farmhouse. Forever, actually. They're going to retire with all of the money that Marie earned from a successful rugby career. Specifically for scoring points in rugby.
Tri-pension.
Tri-pension is the name of that film. Very good.
Okay.
Very, very
good. Couldn't figure out the rugby part, but okay, I'm with you.
That was very similar to what I had. But I will bypass that one and give you another one. Best friends Marie and Alexia decide to spend a quiet weekend at Alexia's parents. But when they get there, they're met by an unexpected guest. Barbie's boyfriend has brought along his offspring, and when they arrive, they say hello to him. Barbie's boyfriend, offspring, and they say hello to him.
Hi, Ken's son.
Hi, Ken's son. Correct.
Hi, Ken's son.
Okay.
There we go.
I got another one for you if you're ready.
Yeah.
So Marie and Alex go away for a weekend to do some studying, and they keep running in to this mechanic, but he's not as bad as a murderer, but he doesn't keep bringing up their upper legs all the time, just in subtle little ways. Just keeps bringing up their upper legs.
What a dirty pervert.
What was that, Emily? I got a thigh.
Thigh mention.
Thigh mention. Very good.
That's really similar to the one I've got next as well.
It's only 70 rhymes.
leave my thighs out of it, for God's sake. Okay, so best friends Marie and Alexia decided to spend a quiet weekend at Alexia's parents'. It turns into an endless night of horror because one of them has got high blood pressure and it's ever so stressful.
Hypertension.
Hypertension, correct.
Hypertension. Here's another one for you then. So Marie and Alex go off for some studying. They choose to go away for some studying because they're bloody sick of the school because one of their teachers absolutely hates them showing emotion, and if they ever get upset, keeps them after school. So do you want to do that? Do it after school. You can in a special kind of after school punishment where you can show all those unhappy emotions all you want.
Something detention.
Yeah. What happens when you're real sad, Ben?
Cry detention.
That's right. Cry detention.
We've all been there, mate. We've all
the saddest kind.
We've all shed a tear.
Not in that school. Put you in detention for it.
I haven't got any more, unfortunately. Have you got any more?
Got one more, if you like.
God, what a hero. What an absolute hero.
Marie and Alex, they go to help out at Alex's family's secluded bakery, where her dad wants to help them experiment with how much pressure can be put on the crust of his baked goods before the surface is broken.
How much pressure?
They're checking something.
Checking a secluded bakery? How are you going to keep that going as a business? Ridiculous.
Delivery, internet orders.
Pie.
Yeah.
High tension.
Yeah, pie tension. There you go.
Can I make one up on the spot?
Yes, please.
Oh,
do.
yes. we always advise. We always approve.
This is the mark of the best guests, Emily. The ones that can join in on these things.
True.
Okay. Marie and Alexia go to her parents' secluded farmhouse, and whilst they're there, they find a portal to the other side.
So it's something dimension.
Just dimension. Dimension.
Oh, dimension.
Dimension. Love it. I love it.
Could have said they played board games there.
Yeah.
Wonderful. That it?
Oh,
there we go.
I've got no more.
There we go. What a lovely edition of the name.
What a good round.
Okay, so now we've got to rate the film, rate good or rate bad. We usually do A to F. Pluses and minuses are allowed.
Classic school grades.
Would you like to rate High Tension, Emily?
Yeah, so it is my favorite horror film. In fact, I told Andy before today that I haven't watched it since the last time I watched it, still years ago, because I wanted to know how much I would remember today. And now I'm going to watch. I would, as of today, rate it an A.
Very nice.
Just a flat A. That's good.
Yeah. No, I don't think an A+ exists.
No.
Not been made yet.
No. Andy, what are you saying?
I really enjoyed this too, you know? I thought it was very good. The twist didn't diminish it for me. I think it was just a fun way to do it. And also, I think, oddly enough, as much as some people might say, oh, you know, that kind of twist, it can be a little bit rote and what have you. I've seen enough times where it just was a random man that did these things. So actually,
yeah,
you can't win. Everything's been done. So that was fun. I enjoyed it, and it really goes hard. I can see why the director went on to make some of the horror films that I really enjoy. Really must do the Hills Have Eyes remake again at some point, because I really enjoyed that movie as well, and Piranha 3D, of course.
Yeah,
Jerry O'Connell's penis getting eaten off by savage piranhas. What a time!
Time to be alive.
Yeah, so I enjoyed this a lot. I had a lot of fun with it. I will definitely watch it again. If you're listening, by the way, and you have a Shudder account and you want to catch up on this one, it's on there right now. Of course, me saying this will make it disappear from the platform, but as of the other day, it was there, so you can watch it on Shudder imminently. I'm gonna go for or which end of it do I go? I'm going to go B+ on this one after a single watching. Could be tempted, maybe with another one to go higher, but a B+ after my first watching. I'm happy with that. It was good times.
Cool.
How about you, Ben?
I think I'm just going to go for a straight B. I don't think the twist, as I said, I'm a bit indifferent on the twist. I'm not like, oh, the twist makes it worse. I don't think the twist makes it better, but I don't necessarily think the twist makes it worse. However, like I'm maybe just slightly disappointed in that final act. So yeah, just a straight B for me. But I think it's great in terms of like the gore effects. Like it is super tense all the way through. It is a great cat and mouse thriller. And it's like unconventional as well, I guess. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's definitely worth recommending to anybody who wants to see a slightly different slasher. So yeah,
in the world of slasher franchises that we live in today, especially given the end that we see, what would either of your interests be in seeing Marie come back, twist revealed, with all of her characters doing some more murders, maybe pursuing
with all
Alex
of her
further to get on with her life?
She
could do more.
Type
she
scenario.
could do Split. Yeah, she'd be like James.
Why not?
She could be James McAvoy. Would you watch another one of her?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, or I could see doing a sequel totally different where Alex has lost everything and now she takes on the evil character.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
And only a recovered Marie can help her out.
Yeah, something, or could find her. Track her down.
I know a real love story. We're all just one bad day away from going nuts.
That's turned into a bad mechanic man.
Turned into a bad mechanic man in your head. Okay. There we go then. That was High Tension. Thank you so much for joining us, Emily. It's been an absolute pleasure. And thanks for recommending this film for us to cover on the podcast. I think it's a good one for us to finally get around to. Yeah, so thanks everybody for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our current patrons. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review on any podcast platform you use to listen to us. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Discord. We're bloody everywhere. Next week, we'll be covering Society. Have we got a special guest for next week, Andy?
We do. We have a special guest for next week. Yeah, Errol Anthony Hayes, so director of, amongst other things, They're Outside and Werewolf Santa is going to come and join us. It was his recommendation. Society was one of his favorite films, and he was a big fan of the making of documentary, which also showed at Fright Fest. So
yeah, of course,
added it to the list. As of last week, his schedule was free, so barring the unforeseen, of course, he'll be with us next week.
I'm gonna have to go and watch that film and watch that bloody making of documentary, aren't I?
Yeah, get on with it, why don't you?
Yes, get on with it, why don't you? Well, thanks again, Emily. It's been an absolute pleasure. Join us again sometime for a future film, French or not. We don't mind. And maybe Andy can do the whole episode in French next time.
Yeah.
Chance to be a fun thing.
Okay. No problem at all. You're most welcome. Thanks everybody for listening. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye for now. Bye.
Bye.